So, if there is something that is put to us that makes sense for us to do, as difficult as that will be emotionally, I'd like for that to happen before camp opens. I don't believe in setting any official deadlines here. And obviously we never turn our phone off, but our mindset will be that, we'd like to get, that clarity for us, for Brendan, sooner rather than later. And then if nothing happens by the time camp opens, we're just going to be in a mindset of having our heads down and preparing for the season. Obviously looking at other ways to improve our roster, but not really thinking that that's going to be a factor at that time.
Audio courtesy of KMOX. That's what it sounded like yesterday as Chaim Bloom was on Sports on a Sunday morning and explained where the team believes it's at with the Brendan Donovan sweepstakes as of today. It's 11:04. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Alex, they would like to have some kind of a resolution, and I think we're getting closer to that actually taking place and that becoming more realistic, because over the weekend we saw the San Francisco Giants, one of the other teams that was potentially interested in Brendan Donovan. They decided to pivot and go the free agency route and sign Luis Arise. A 1-year, $12 million deal for Arise. Was a first baseman last year for the Padres. Is expected to play second base this season for the Giants. Eugenio Suarez was also one of the pivot points for teams out there on the free agent market. He has since signed a 1-year, $15 million deal with the Reds. I don't think the Reds were ever in, realistically, on Brendan Donovan. However, they just signed a player that other teams could have pivoted and said, all right, we were going to trade for Donnie. Instead, we'll just bring in Eugenio Suarez. I'm looking at you, Seattle Mariners.
That's who I was looking at.
Now the best hitters that remain on the market are Ozuna, DH, Goldie, first base, Hoskins, first base, Starling Marte, geriatric, IKF, doesn't hit, Carlos Santana, geriatric, old, and Miguel Andujar, who's actually pretty decent.
Also, the two guys you named were DHs, are both gold glovers. Don't forget about Marcell Ozuna and his gold glove in the outfield.
Miguel Andujar is really the last remaining pivot spot for Brendan Donovan. He's a right-handed hitter. He's not the same defender as Brendan Donovan. He does have versatility, but doesn't play up the middle anywhere that Brendan Donovan can and would for some of these teams. I don't know how much he's truly a pivot spot for Donnie. I think we're now here, Alex. This is the end game, so to speak, for the Cardinals, for the Mariners, for whoever else wants to get in on these sweepstakes,
Just
I
say
suppose.
The Red Sox.
The Red Sox, yeah. Let's be real. I think we're finally reaching our end point. How are you feeling going into the last week or two prior to spring training, Alex, on whether or not Brendan Donovan will be back with the Cardinals next year?
I mean, I'm kind of 50-50. I'm a little nervous about it, to be honest with you, because my reaction has always been this, and it's going to stick this way. I think they should trade Brendan Donovan no matter what. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Chaim had a comment on Sunday with Ackerman saying, like, look, if we get to spring training with Brendan Donovan, we're going to kind of be focused on this is our group going into the season.
Yeah,
now,
I just played that.
Did you? I wasn't listening to it, to be honest with you. I was listening to other things.
Do you need to hear it?
Yeah, will you play it again for me?
I was like, wait.
That wasn't that piece of audio. That was something else.
I remember that.
But if that's their mindset, then I really think they need to pull the trigger on this right away. And I hope now that Seattle's lost out on Suarez, if they were interested in it, and all these other options, like, to me, it's no contest with Brendan Donovan versus these other pieces if you're Seattle, because Donovan brings that utility. He's cheaper than what most of those guys are probably going to be, and you're paying prospects, and Seattle's got a lot of them. So I'm just nervous because I'm very worried the Cardinals are going to stick to their guns and say, nope, you need to give us this, and this is the only price we're going to accept to trade Brendan Donovan. And if you do that and come back with him in season, you're not getting anything close to what you could be getting for Brendan Donovan before spring training.
Yeah, I'm now kind of with Alex, 50-50 on if he's going to be here or not. I thought for sure until Sanford had signed a Rise that, okay, Donovan's probably going to be gone, because you still had this bidding war between two teams that were looking for a similar piece. And finally, as we got closer and closer to spring, someone was going to cave. And now I'm just not as certain of that, right? Seattle, they could use a Brendan Donovan, but Andujar could be a piece that they could go out there and still sign, and he would fit what they're looking for. Would it cost more? Sure, but it wouldn't cost as much in prospect capital. And they just lost a piece of their pitching depth over the weekend as well, because they announced one of their top prospects, who's major league ready, underwent Tommy John surgery. So makes me wonder if they're a little bit less less wanting to move on from that ambidextrous pitcher who's close to the major leagues because of that injury. I'm now kind of caught in between. I'm actually even leaning a little bit towards they're probably going to end up keeping Brendan Donovan, and he will be with them at spring training.
Okay, let's see if I can change your opinion on that. I listened to a Jerry DiPoto.
Hold on. Do I need to turn my listening ears on with this one? Okay.
I listened to a Jerry DiPoto interview over the weekend. For those unfamiliar, he is the president of baseball operations for the Seattle Mariners. They had their Fan Fest, their Cardinals winter warm-up, basically the equivalent of that in Seattle this past weekend. Perfect timing, by the way. If you're in Seattle, this week is really the start of your Super Bowl preparations. This past weekend, you were able to get excited about the team that was on the cusp of winning a World Series. Good timing if you're Seattle.
I want to go there. It sounds fun.
Yeah, no doubt. Jerry DiPoto, this was unprompted, Alex. Made not one, but two separate mentions of a move that he still would like to make in an interview with Seattle Sports, or sister station, up in Seattle. Take a listen to the first mention.
I will say we got our business done so early in the offseason, or most of our business done so early in the offseason, that we've been mostly bored. And we're grinding. There's one more move that we feel like is in us and that we want to make, and we've been grinding hard for the last handful of days to see if we can bring it through, and hopefully we do.
All right, so that's the first one.
Does somebody, by the way, I'm such a good listener, did somebody hear that fan in the background saying we won Brendan?
I couldn't tell what he said.
I thought he said we won Donovan.
I thought that's what he said too.
Play it again.
Oh, hold on.
You don't have to.
Worry about it.
You
Here's
don't have
the
to.
second mention by Jerry DiPoto, the Mariners president of baseball operations.
We get a full year of Josh Naylor. We get the upswing of our young players that get more exposure, especially Cole Young, who I think is going to break out for us this year. And I do hope that there's one more player coming along for the ride that might not be in a Mariner uniform just yet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep, I'm sold.
I don't know who that player is, just to be clear.
Miguel Andujar.
It's not a free agent because you're not grinding away on it for a free agent.
Correct.
It's a trade.
Yep.
Yeah, come on, man. I'm 100%
be so
on
sold
board.
that it takes a long time for these free agents to apparently
CJ
sign.
Abrams? What if they're the team that swoops in and they make the deal for CJ Abrams?
God, that's going to be
They've got
brutal.
the pieces to do it.
Screw you, Cardinals. Brendan Donovan's not as good as C.J. Abrams, and if we're going to have to spend the same prospects capital either way, well, just go get C.J. Abrams, who's a better baseball player.
That's going to be brutal as a Cardinals fan to see that.
It would be understandable if that's the pivot for them.
Understandable.
That's it. There are no more pivots for teams on the free agent market. There do exist some on the trade market still. You could go out there and call the Washington Nationals if you're willing to spend at that level with prospect currency. I don't know if they are or aren't, but that's the kind of move you could see.
It's understandable if they veer that direction, but it's frustrating to me as a Cardinals fan because you should have asked a little less to try and get a deal done.
So that's where I struggle with this, Alex, because I do Seattle's making a move. DiPoto doesn't say that stuff without having something that he thinks he's going to get over the finish line. I've seen a lot of going back and forth among Cardinals fans on social media over the weekend, with people very entrenched in their camps. And I think I'm kind of entrenched in my camp on this, honestly, of either trading him without getting everything you were looking for would be stupid. There's no reason to trade Brendan Donovan unless you get the absolute highest possible asking price. Or other people that say, kind of similar to what Alex just mentioned, you've got to trade him this offseason, even if that means budging from your asking price. There's no reason to hold on to him. I kind of fall somewhere in between. And I fall in this camp of, I'm fine with you not trading Brendan Donovan, but I don't see the reason why Brendan Donovan would be here without an extension. That's the part that I struggle with, because you're very likely to see a shortened, condensed offseason next year with a lockout. And we don't know how many of the 162 games we're going to play, which means that next year, his market will be way smaller than what it is right now, just by virtue of what the offseason's likely to look like and how much uncertainty there will be surrounding the 2027 baseball campaign. So that's going to change things. You typically would not expect a position player like Brendan Donovan to have as much value at the trade deadline as he would right now, because you're getting 3 extra months of this very good, consistent, versatile player who can fill into any gap that you have as your roster That's valuable for April until July, not just August and September. So you would think that you would get more now than you would in July at the trade deadline. So if I accept all of those things to be true, and maybe you don't, maybe you reject what I've just said, that's fine. But if I accept all of that to be true, then why wouldn't you either trade him now or decide, you know what, we're building with Brendan Donovan in our plans. We don't think this has to be a 5-year rebuild. We think we can get to being a good baseball team again within the next 2 to 3, and Donnie will still be in his prime at that point in time. And we value what he's going to be able to do for these young players. He has all of the leadership skills. He's going to be the lead by example guy. When J.J. Weatherholt has a question, he goes to that guy, and there's no question about it. And Donnie's going to be the face of the franchise for the next couple of years while these young players come through our system. He's going to help them grow. I could totally understand all of that. That is reasonable to me. I don't get the idea that you're just going to have him here for 2 more years and then say, that's it, we're done here. We decided not to trade him to just have him for 26 when we're going to be bad and 27 when we might not play a full season and we're also likely to be bad. That's where I struggle with this, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, and I find myself on the other side. Like, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, I value locker room chemistry and leadership more than probably anybody on this show. And Brendan Donovan does provide that. But I'm just looking at the state of the Cardinals, and I'm not sure this thing gets fixed in less than 3 years. And by that time, Brendan Donovan is going to be pushing 32. Is he still in his prime? Yeah, I think he still has some good years, but we're talking maybe 2. And I don't think this team all of a sudden gets better in 3 years and then all of a sudden becomes a World Series contending team. So I look at this and say, Brendan Donovan is a really good player. Brendan Donovan is not a potential superstar. Brendan Donovan is not a potential MVP candidate. And it seems as if the Cardinals are looking at this market saying, well, we're not trading him unless we're getting this type of return. The return that teams are going to have to pay for C.J. Abrams, it seems like the Cardinals are saying, we're not trading him unless we get that return. And I just don't think that makes sense. I don't think Brendan Donovan is that type of player. Sure, you ask for the moon, but sometimes you're not going to get the moon. And sometimes the team's going to come back and say, look, we can't give you both. But we'll give you one. You get one top 50 prospect that we are willing to give up. And I have to look at that and say, hey, we're a rebuilding team or a building team, whichever one you want to go with.
I like building.
We've got to get the best assets that we can bring in for what we have. And Brendan Donovan, if he's not bringing in you 2, cool. I'm sorry, Chaim, you couldn't make the magic work like you did with Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras. This is still a really damn good return for a guy who is just viewed as an all-star type of player. So if they give him an extension, I'll understand it. I won't be happy about it, but I'll understand it. If you bring him back and just say, well, we'll trade him at the deadline or trade him next offseason, I'm sorry. It's going to make me very frustrated with the Cardinals.
I'll just be confused by it. I'll have a lot of follow-up questions on the rationale that went into that move. And it does make me go back to some of the conversations we've had with people in Boston who said this was their biggest critique of Chaim Bloom. Yep. Is that when it came to the big decisions, really big decisions, those are the ones where maybe there was some overthinking that went into it. And ultimately, they just decided, better not to make the move. And that was a criticism that we had of John Mozeliak, was big moves that need to be made. And then he says, I don't know. I'll tiptoe up to that line, but I won't quite jump over it. I don't think that it is the end of the world. I don't think this is something that signifies this is going to be a failure or anything like that. It just begs more questions on what the plan is and how Brendan Donovan fits into those plans for future seasons. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. In about 15 minutes or so, we're starting off the week right. What's your level of concern at this point about Jordan Bennington? I know Alex is going to be very excited
another
to talk
day that
about
ends
that.
in Y.
That's coming up at 11:30. You guys can get involved in the show at 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. We also have the YouTube chat off and running at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. We've got a couple of people saying, guys, talk college hoops. We will do exactly that. SLU and Illinois, both very convincing wins over the weekend. What does it mean for both of them? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
They came into this arena with a kinetic energy. The fans of St. Louis, they will leave flying high because they have led wire to wire and have now won 15 consecutive games. And this one was convincing. 102-71, the final score. The Billikens have knocked off the Flyers.
You don't see many wins quite as convincing as the one that we saw on Friday night as SLU takes down Dayton by more than 30 at home in the whiteout at Chaifetz Arena alongside Alex and T-Bone. I'm BK, audio courtesy of CBS Sports Network. Alex, Robbie Avila had 7 points in that game. 7. He was the 7th leading scorer on SLU.
Jeez.
Robbie Avila is maybe the conference player of the year, and they scored 100 points and beat one of the top 5 teams in the conference, conservatively speaking, by more than 30, with a potential conference player of the year finishing 2 for 6 from the field. That is the kind of thing I didn't think this team was capable of. I said previously, I want to see SLU dominate offensively against the higher level defenses that they go up against. And say what you will of Dayton. Dayton is not what they have been in the past. This is not the same dominant team in the A-10 that we have seen in the past. They are a very good defensive team. And SLU made it look easy. They were 17 for 28 from beyond the arc. They shot 60%, Alex, from 3 in the game.
Jeez.
Absolutely absurd.
Well, the fact that you said Avila scored 7 points in that game, he scored the first bucket, which was a 3-pointer. So he scored 4 the rest of that basketball game, which is absurd, but it makes sense. I mean, I told you guys, I was all geared up to watch this game, and I'm watching the first half, and I mean, it wasn't even competitive.
Nope.
By halftime, it's like I started to flip over to Michigan because you're watching it, and it's like, this is like watching a D1 team take on a D2 team. And they were saying on the broadcast, and I asked you this, like, is Dayton considered the second best team in the A-10? The broadcasters were making it out to be, these are the top 2 teams in the A-10.
I think the answer is no. I think George Mason and VCU are both better, but Dayton, historically speaking, has been up there.
But if that's how some on the national stage are viewing Dayton in the A-10, well, SLU just wiped the floor with them. So that's your best team in the A-10. And the second best team, again, in the view of some of the national eyes, isn't even on the same playing field as SLU. So, I mean, everything about that game I'm watching, and it's like, okay, you got like 7 guys who could go out there and play like they're a starting 5. Your big man can drop threes wherever he is at on the court. Thames is just a difference maker. I'm watching that, and it's like, okay, I don't need to be told, like, well, maybe they'll be an A-10 team. They got to win. Man, they're a tournament team.
Oh, well, yeah.
Regardless, but watching them in the A-10 tourney, and I know a lot of things can change, but I don't know what the competition looks like because SLU is just night and day better.
There's a buzz about them that's palpable, and it's different than anything I've experienced since I moved to St. Louis in 2016. I have not seen this kind of buzz for SLU basketball since then.
Yeah.
Those were the Travis Ford years primarily, and then now into the Shirts era. This team is different. I mean, you see that arena was absolutely juiced for this game. And you see afterwards the videos that are coming out of Josh Shirts going to a local pub and pouring some drinks for fans, maybe a few of them going out without a tab being paid for. I mean,
he's got it.
I love it. That's what this is supposed to be, man. That is what I love about college sports. And I always go back and forth with T-Bone about this. Like, if you're a SLU fan, enjoy the hell out of every one of these moments. Every one of these games the rest of the year, this is special. It's unique. You do not know how long it will last. You do not know if you will ever get this kind of feeling about your team ever again. This may be as good as it ever gets, and this is pretty freaking good, man. If it is, you did well. And you figured out the coach. You've got a team that is really fun to watch. They have excellent chemistry on the court. They're super easy to root for. And then you see there's like this love between the city and the team that's starting to grow. And that's when it really becomes something different. When you can start to see that, where the fans almost become a part of it, I'm really interested to see where this thing goes for them. Because they could go on one hell of a ride for the next month or two. And I can't wait to witness it. Honestly, that's the biggest thing is I want to be along for the ride and just witness whatever comes next.
It's weird how it works. I put so much pressure, like for the Missouri side of things, like you put so much pressure on if they're going to be a tournament team, and then it's like, okay, well, I got to see you make it to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. Man, I don't feel that way with SLU. Maybe it's because we didn't.
The benefit of being a mid-major.
Yeah, we didn't expect them to be this good, and like now I'm watching it, and it's like, man, whatever they do in the tournament is going to be exciting. Because in years past, it's always been for SLU, you're good, but then you get the best in the A-10 and you kind of fall back down to earth a little bit more.
We have a few texts that are saying something to the degree of, we got this one from the 314, you guys are prisoner of the moment. Who have they played? Another one, calm down. Guys, is their coach even going to be back next year?
Wow, good for you, text line.
My God, man. No, I won't calm down.
First Monday,
of all,
really well.
I'm not saying they're going to win the title. I don't think they will. Could they be a team that goes on a run to the Sweet 16, though? Yeah, they're capable of that. This team is absolutely capable of going on a run to the Sweet 16. And that's the kind of thing that SLU fans have been dreaming about for a really long time. The idea that they have a team and a coach and players that they can get behind and they can pack that arena and they feel like they will win. Not could win, will win every time that they take the court against anybody that the A-10 has to offer. That's a hell of a start. And then you get into this idea that, like, they can shoot it with anybody. They are not a team that is going to be played off the floor defensively. They've got a coach that can put them schematically in advantageous situations. Yeah, you get to the NCAA tournament. This is the kind of mid-major program that big Power 5 teams want nothing to do with. They could beat them, don't get me wrong. Like, you get some of these big-time teams, they could take down SLU. They're not going to be, like, afraid of them necessarily. But if they had their druthers, this is the last mid-major team that they would want to play. Kind of reminds me of Loyola of Chicago.
Oh,
when T-Bone's Illinois team got them.
That's who I was thinking of.
It feels very similar to that, where you get into the tournament and you know, oof, this is not going to be an easy out for us. Josh SLU's probably like a 7 seed, somewhere around that range. They're going to get one of these really good teams early in the tournament, most likely.
Josh Schertz is your sister Jean, where you rally around him.
No, I think it's going to be someone not on the road, like the head coach
Porter
of the
Mosier.
program. Yeah.
I like.
I don't know if I'd call that a success because Porter Mosier failed spectacularly when he left, but
he made the tournament.
The other thing too about
maybe that's a warning sign to not leave. Josh, you stay in SLU.
The other thing that's what's so good for them as a mid-major is they've got multiple guys that can go off, right? Avila can be a guy that could go off if he gets the right matchup. I mean, you look at Trey Green, watch out if he gets hot from behind the arc. He drilled 7 3-pointers in that contest in the win against Dayton, which is just ridiculous, right? And that's what you need when you're a mid-major, right? You have to have, it can't just be all-around team play, which SLU is good at. You've got to have that one guy when it comes down to the clutch of, okay, maybe Avila's not making his shots that night, or Thames is turning the basketball over. Who's going to step up in the moment? And they've got 3 or 4 guys that can really do that, and that's what's important for a mid-major program like SLU. Once you start to really go up against the tougher competition, if they get to the NCAA tournament, that's when you need those guys to step up if you're going to go on that magical Sweet 16 run that we're talking about.
From Austin over in the YouTube chat, if SLU goes 30-2 this season and loses in the A-10 championship, will they get snubbed like they did at Indiana State a couple of years ago? No. SLU is 16th right now in the net rankings. They are 25th right now in the KenPom rankings. This is a team that their underlying numbers match what the record is. Like they are every bit as good as what you would see with just their overall record. That was not the case for Indiana State. Indiana State was a fun team, and they were 40th in KenPom rankings. I have not seen what they were in the net that season, but I would say it's probably somewhere around that range. They just didn't have the resume. They went up against quality opponents, but lost. Like, they lost against Drake that season by 11. They lost against Michigan State by 12. They lost by 20 against Alabama. Anytime they really had a significant opportunity to beat those high-level teams, they lost. So that's the difference between this SLU team and that Indiana State team. It's very different underlying metrics.
And this SLU team's got, what, 2 top quad 1 wins, if I'm not mistaken?
I'm not sure on quad 1. Yeah, they do. Santa Clara and VCU.
Moved up, which that helps. I mean, that's going to be the big driving force for them. As long as that Santa Clara one remains a quad 1 win for them, I think they're probably good. And they'll have opportunities. I think VCU or George Mason is potentially a quad 1 win as well. But
that George Mason game on the road should probably end up being.
Yeah, so I think that will help them. If they can win that game especially, that would really be the thing on top, because at Indiana State, to your point, they didn't have those quad one wins to really help back them up if they went 32. The team that is probably going to be that Indiana State team from this year is that Miami, Ohio squad that is undefeated in the MAC. You look at their underlying metrics, Ken Palm, they're like 89th. They're right there with Dayton. They're the team that is going to be the Indiana State. I think SLU can earn themselves an at-large bid.
All right, on the other side of things, college basketball-wise, T-Bone.
Oh, we won't be talking just Sweet 16 here.
Your squad's really good, man. Illinois yesterday went on the road and beat Nebraska, and it was never really in doubt. I mean, they just from start to finish looked like the better team. I understand the score was close for most of this. Were they down at halftime?
Yeah, they were down 6 at halftime.
I never really had a fear that they were going to lose that basketball game. I just thought they would find a way to come out on top. Illinois now has 2 wins against ranked top 5 opponents on the road over the last week. They beat Purdue on the road, top 5 team. They beat Nebraska on the road, top 5 team. They had the same number of wins against top 5 ranked road teams in the last 28 years combined. The last week, they have 2. The last 28 years combined, Illinois had 2. This is not some like run-of-the-mill college basketball program. Illinois has history, and they're doing things in a week that they had not done in about a 30-year stretch. Oh boy, this is the year you dream of if you're an Illinois fan. It's all coming together. And for SLU, I'm like, okay, they could be a Sweet 16 type of a contender. Illinois could win the national championship this year. They're that good.
Yeah, I'm having already visions of watching them in April in the national title game in Indianapolis. That's how good they are.
I'll believe it when I see it.
And the other thing for me, too, like you mentioned that you never really felt, because I felt this way, too, yesterday when they were down 6 at halftime. Nebraska, it was one of those moments where you look at it and go, man, Illinois can't run them off the three-point line, but the numbers are eventually going to even out, right? That Nebraska's not going to hit their shots from behind the arc. Nebraska only made 10 two-point field goals in that contest. There's the whole game. And that's why I feel confident in Illinois' ability to win that basketball game. Wagler went off again for 28 points. He was unbelievable. And they're doing all this, by the way, early on in the year, before Wagler really kind of hit his stride here over the last 10 to 15 games. I thought Stojakovic was going to be either second-best guard behind Boswell. Guys, Stojakovic has not scored more than 10 points but once in the last 6 games, He again did not even get to 10 points. He only had 8 in that contest, and they didn't even need him to be good in this game because everybody else is able to just kind of be the complementary pieces with Wagler in this game. They're unbelievable. They are as deep as I've seen them in my lifetime.
Alex, this is what depth of scoring looks like. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Yeah, Mizzou played this weekend, too. They won.
Yeah, don't get too thrilled with it, man. They won by the hair on their chins.
Hey, pass-fail test.
I hope they get
passed.
SLU in the first round and they lose.
I mean, getting to the first round would be a win.
Whoever they play in the first round, they're losing.
That's all They're
not going past the first round.
A little bit of a scary scene there with, in all seriousness, Anwar Boateng, who went up for a dunk, came back down, was taken off on a stretcher. It's expected he's potentially going to miss the rest of the season. So, yeah, it ain't looking good for my Missouri Tigers, but the path is clear on how they get to the NCAA tournament. We'll talk about that coming up in about an hour. Coming up next, what's your level of concern at this point about Jordan Binnington? Alex will have one answer. I'll probably have a different one. We'll get to those next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here in Super Bowl 60 is just 6 days away, and DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60. Look, I've already got my parlay put together on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. I love the Seahawks on the spread, and I'm taking JSN for 100-plus receiving yards and an anytime touchdown score. And I'm also going to go under a 221.5 passing yards for Drake May, and I'm also putting a little money down on JSN to be Super Bowl MVP at plus 550. And get this, DraftKings has had your back all postseason long, and that will continue through the Super Bowl with early exit protection. So if you have a player that goes down in the first half and you're eligible NFL prop bet, you still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TANNER, that's code TANNER, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues fell to the Blue Jackets over the weekend, and they'll be back in action tonight as they visit the Nashville Predators. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Carver and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Dayton heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, a little bit of news to pass along. According to John Orand, 6 of the 9 Major League Baseball teams with Main Street Sports are moving their media rights to the league. Those teams include the Brewers, the Marlins, the Rays, the Royals, the Reds, and the Cardinals. They apparently told Major League Baseball of their plans over the weekend. There are now only 3 teams, the Braves, the Tigers, and the Angels, have yet to decide what they will do with their rights for 2026. So, news here, the Cardinals' TV rights will go over to Major League Baseball for this season. For you, the fan, based on what we had heard from the DeWitts over the winter warm-up, that shouldn't change much for you. It will basically mean instead of going through, like my guess is, instead of going through Prime Video, which is what I personally do, and having like FanDuel Sports Midwest as part of that plan over there, it will just go through Major League Baseball. Like MLB TV will now just be your home for Cardinals baseball. The expectation is this should actually make it easier for more people to get access to Cardinals games. So that's the news. John Orand, who does fantastic work covering sports media with the latest on the Cardinals TV rights. All right. Alex, one thing that I wouldn't have wanted to watch on TV over the weekend was the Blues. Hopefully you were listening to them instead right here on your home of the Blues 101 ESPN. I was, unfortunately, in the stadium for this one.
Yeah, God, that was a boring game.
It was not a good one.
No.
Compared
to the Panthers one, oof.
Yeah, Blues lose 5-3. Jordan Binnington was fine. Not great.
Not as great as game. I'll admit that one. There were a couple of goals that the body language of Jordan Binnington
I don't
was
have to soften it. I don't think Jordan Binnington was very good.
No, come on, man. Not that bad.
He's just been bad this year, man. There's no real debate to be had here. We don't have to argue back and forth. Binnington has not been good. And since the start of December, the Blues are 2-11-1 when he starts. He had one win in the entire month of January. He had an .847 save percentage in that 14-game stretch that I mentioned, in which they are 2-11-1. .847. That's quite bad. My question to you is this, though, Alex, because I think I've always held the belief this season, he'll be fine. I'm not worried about Jordan Binnington. Games will matter again. He'll be good. He'll be fine. Is there any piece of you that has doubt about that at this point? That you're wondering to yourself, what if we've already seen the best of Jordan Binnington? And what if he's not going to get back to form? Is there any lingering doubt that's creeping into the back of your mind?
Yeah, a little bit for this season, because the way I look at this is Jordan Binnington has not been himself. I'll be very curious to what Jordan Binnington looks like in the Olympics, because I'm going to be 100% honest. It would not surprise me if he goes out there and is one of the best players in that tournament. He's a big game player. Regular season games aren't the same as playing in gold medal games. And the narrative might shift to, there's Jordan Binnington again. But when you come back to a season that's already lost, to where you might be 16 to 18 points out of one of those playoff spots, there's not a lot to play for in that position. So there's some concern that, look, this just might be Binnington the rest of the way. I mean, the team has had breakdowns galore this season. The goaltending has not been good enough for you. So you could come back and just continue the same thing. But I said this season because if things go the direction that I hope they go, to where they right their wrongs, they switch some things up and try and get back to what they were supposed to be going into next season, I could see Binnington being back to himself, to where it's some games don't look great, most games look fine, and then you try and push for the playoffs. But right now, every time Binnington's in net, I just assume it's going to be a tough night. And that's not all on him. That's the game in front of him as well. But I also look at this and say I could see him going into the Olympics and show out for Team Canada, because he's going to have a great roster in front of him, and they're going to be meaningful games.
Yeah, I've got some concern, and it's not that this is a surprise that he's been bad in the regular season, because at times we have seen that in the past where we have actually gone back and forth as a show on what Jordan Binnington's numbers are in the regular season. But I don't remember it ever being this bad. When you look at the numbers, I mean,
this is the worst.
866 save percentage so far this season. Goals against is at 3.60. All worst if the season were to end today for his career. This is the worst it has been, which is what makes me a little worried. But I'm kind of with Alex. Once he gets to the Olympics, I think I'll really have my answer. Because if he is big game winner in the Olympics, I will just chalk this up to, okay, this became a lost season, and for whatever reason, it became a lost year for Binnington, and he needs big games to really get to his best.
So I get all of that. That makes all the sense in the world. I would also say, look back to 2023. When the team was bad around him, and he had an .895 save percentage and was one of the worst goalies in the league that year as well in the regular season. Now, we argued at the time, and a lot of it was, well, that's the team around him. There's so much that's gone wrong around him. How can you blame Jordan Binnington? And I think sometimes, of course, the team around him matters, but you also need your goalie to pick them up. We're seeing this year with Hofer, he's had moments where he's picked those guys up around him. Now, there have been other games where it hasn't gone as well, but when you look at the disparity in their respective performances, it's clear one of these guys is playing better this season than the other. If it was just a regular bad season, I'd be he's had one of these before, rebounded the next year, everything was fine. I don't know, man. He's 32 now. Is it not just a bad year? He's been arguably the worst goalie in the NHL so far this season. And if you get an offer at the deadline for Jordan Binnington and he's coming off of a decent run at the Olympics, man, I think you have to give serious consideration this time around. Because if you don't, I don't know that it's turning for you, man. And I think this might be if you want to divest of the Jordan Binnington experience, this might be your one chance to do so, coming off of, hopefully, a very good Olympic performance by him.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Me personally, because we talk all the time how goalie returns just aren't very good. And I mean, regardless of what he does at the Olympics, people are going to see his regular season numbers and realize that we don't have 6 of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League playing in front of Binnington. So are we going to get the regular season Binnington versus the Olympics Binnington?
If you're trading for him, though, you're trading for playoff and Olympic Binnington. That's all you care about.
Sure, but if I'm a team looking at the regular season numbers and there's going to be doubt, and I'm not going to up my ante because of the playoffs. So
I don't know, man.
If I'm the Blues, I think I'm selling low on this, and I hold on to it. And I try and see if I can right the ship with the team going into next year. And then by next season, you're a pending UFA. If I'm still struggling or a 500 team, then I can move him, and teams might pay a little bit more because it's only half of a season.
Do you think they're going to be good next year?
Who?
I think
Blues?
there's a chance. I think there's a chance. I think there's a chance. You're a really good chance you're fighting for one of the wild card spots.
Yeah, I think they're fighting for a top pick again next year if this is going to go the way that I'm expecting it. And now, that doesn't mean I am locking in my answer now of Binnington must be gone if he has a good Olympics, because I'm kind of with Alex, because this is one of those positions that's clearly not valued across the league when we get to the deadline, to where I'm not selling low on him, but I am definitely listening. And if Army deems whatever that is that they are targeting in a return for Jordan Binnington, if that's on the table for him, to me, he has to pull the trigger.
This is a tough one. This is a really tough one. I think most of the other decisions are, relatively speaking, pretty easy. Mm-hmm. Like you trade Justin Falk. That's the exact kind of trade chip that you move at a deadline. If you get something of significance for Kyrou, all right, sure. If somebody offers you something of significance for Pius Suter, sure, I'm willing to go ahead and make that move as well. Listen on many of the other players. Benner's tough, man. This is a guy that's a franchise icon, first goalie ever to win the cup, hoisted over his head, probably going to have a statue outside of Enterprise Center someday. And if you have the opportunity to keep that guy here as long as possible, you try to do that. But you also have to do the best thing for the team, and Ryan O'Reilly ain't here anymore. Alex Pietrangelo ain't here anymore. And we've seen Doug Armstrong is unafraid to make these moves that are bold and they're unpopular, and he believes that they are the best thing for the team over the long haul. And if that means trading Jordan Binnington at the deadline because they don't think that they're in the position to really win at a high level next year, or because they don't think they're going to have another chance to do so, I think this is it. This is your last chance to really get any kind of return. Forget how high the return is, any real return for Jordan Binnington. Yeah, this is the time where you got to do it. It's going to be a very interesting, really, month prior to this year's NHL trade deadline, figuring out where they stand on not just Jordan Binnington, but a lot of these players and how they fit into the future core of the team. Coming up in 15 minutes, how do the Cardinals position players stack up against the borderline playoff teams around the league? I was a little surprised by the answer to that, at least according to one neutral observer. We'll get into that coming up in 15 minutes. Questions and answers next here on 101 ESPN. It is the week of the big game, and over on the Underdog app, they're doing it big for you. I pulled up my app earlier today, Alex, and what they had was a deal reveal for me.
Oh, yes.
You pull it up, you click on it, and then they've got a bunch of different options. You pick your player, they will cut the total, the rushing yards, receiving yards, passing yards, whatever it is. I decided to go with Kenneth Walker. His higher or lower is set at 74.5 rushing yards, but for me, 63.5. So I'm going to take the higher on that. I've got lower on Drake May, 222 in the passing yardage total. And I've got Jackson Smith and Jigba to lead this game in receiving yards. Put those three picks together. 3-1 odds over on the Underdog app.
This is why you need that Underdog app for the big game this weekend. Tons of promos will be dropping daily, so make sure you open up that app daily and see what there is to offer. So download the Underdog app today and make sure you use promo code BKO to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. That's promo code BKO. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing. Get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
(314-399-9646) is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now. From the 314, guys, with the news of the Cardinals broadcast, will they still be on cable TV? Truly do not know. I wish I could answer that question. I don't know. I don't know what their plan is in that regard. I'm guessing they'll have some kind of a deal. This is purely speculation. Want to say that up front. My guess is they'll have some kind of a deal with KMOV, or they'll probably broadcast some of the games on either KMOV or Matrix Midwest.
That's what I think.
I don't know how that's going to work, though, so that is all very much TBD.
Yeah, it sure seems unlikely, but I mean, again, with the speculation, my guess is they'll get a couple. It's not like the whole season's going to be played there, but you'd get a handful of games throughout the season that'll be played there.
All right, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. From the 618. Alex, how much involvement do you think Steen has with all of these trade talks?
Oh, I guarantee he's in the room with all of these trade talks, and if he's not in the room, there's phone call conversations between Doug and Steen. Steen's not making the final decision, though. It's Doug. Doug said that, but yeah, he's a part of all of these conversations, and I think Doug has addressed that to where, like, if Steen's a little iffy about it, then Doug takes that into consideration. But again, Doug's the one that's making the final call before the end of this season.
From the 636, Alex, have you seen Stuart Skinner's last 8 starts with the Penguins? 7-1 with a 1.6 ERA. Still think he would have been a bad return for Benner?
Yeah, I do. I think Stuart Skinner is
too good.
I think Stuart Skinner is playing well for the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I don't think this is what Stuart Skinner is going to be this year. Like, full time for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I don't think this is what Stuart Skinner is.
How would that, an 8-1 stretch, what would that do for the Blues?
Oh, it would not be good. It would not be good.
Well, that'd be great. You'd be in a wild card spot.
You'd be like right there with a wild card, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you flipped Benner's record with Stuart Skinner, because Benner's like 1-8 and he's 8-1.
They're what, 10 out
so
now?
That gives you like 15 extra
14
points.
points out now, I think.
So
you'd be right there.
6 out, yeah.
No, you'd be right there.
What?
If you had 15 extra points?
Oh, yeah.
8-1. That'd be
8-1 versus
16.
1-8. You'd have like
Sorry.
15 extra points that we're talking about here. You would be right in the mix for a playoff
In the context of that, look at the trade for Edmonton. You think they're regretting that one? Now they're 6-3-1 at the time, but he's got an .872 save percentage. Tristan Jarry does for the Oilers.
Not great, Bob.
No.
From the 636, guys, are you worried about the Cardinals doing things like they normally do if Brendan Donovan ends up here and they wait too long and end up getting nothing for him?
Yeah.
I think it's a fair fear.
Yeah. I mean, that's been my fear that I've said multiple times. I'm worried that it's going to fall into no, we're not trading him because we think he's more valuable than what you're offering us. And you're going to realize that, nope, that's all it was, because the return is just going to get smaller and smaller as you get closer to free agency.
Yeah.
From Percy Blumpkin, how likely is a Cade Anderson return from the Mariners? Incredibly unlikely.
And we don't want that. We want Las Montez.
I mean, I would take Cade
like
Anderson.
their top prospect?
Yeah.
No, we want
top
Las.
3 pick last year.
No,
I'll
we
take
want
him in a heartbeat.
We want Las Montez.
You've got nothing that you could sell, I think, to get that.
No. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. From Harrison's brother, Master, Doug Armstrong, is it possible that he makes no moves prior to the deadline?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think you're seeing at least 3 guaranteed moves with the potential of 4 or 5. I think he's going to be wheeling and dealing at this deadline.
Dang, what are the 3 guarantee? Falk,
Shen, and then I would say one of Sundquist to Joseph or Pius Suter.
Okay. That's kind of where I was leaning, because I would lean towards he's 2.5 if you set the over-under at. I would lean over because I think there's 3. I don't know if he's
and Kyrie would be the one that I'm 50-50 on.
Yeah, I
feel
think that's
that
one in the
confident on
offseason.
Yeah. I don't like it, but yes, I feel pretty confident on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of expecting he's gone as well.
I just think the return is going to be it's going to be too worthwhile for the Blues to not pass up on. And again, we've never really gotten to the segment. I can make a strong case to why they should keep Braden Shen because of the culture aspect and having that guy around until Jake Neighbors is ready to take over the captaincy. But I look at what Toronto was almost going to offer for Braden Shen, and I think there's going to be a team that's a potential top 10 pick and a really good prospect that's playing in the middle 6 for Boston that the Blues almost got in return for Braden Shen. And I think you could get something very similar to that in return.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone on BK. Coming up next, how do the Cardinals position players stack up against some of the other borderline playoff teams heading into 2026? On the surface, you'd say, not great. You actually look into it a little bit, though. Maybe it's closer than you'd expect. We'll talk about that next here on 101 ESPN. Katie Wu has a news story up over on The Athletic on the Cardinals' decision to go with MLB's distribution of their games. Instead of being with FanDuel Sports Midwest, they're expected to go with the MLB distribution. The Cardinals' vice president for baseball operations said the following: our top priority is to make sure the Cardinals fans can watch their team as easily as possible. Whether you prefer cable, satellite, or streaming, you will have uninterrupted access to every in-market game throughout this new model. So the expectation is you'll be able to see them on cable in some capacity this upcoming season. We'll try to get more information on that as we can get it. But that is the latest that we have it as. Earlier today, the Cardinals, it was reported, have decided to leave Main Street, which previously was Diamond Sports, which is otherwise known as FanDuel Sports.
A lot of names going on.
Once upon a time, Fox
Couldn't
Sports.
Make it again.
Bally Sports, whatever you want to call it. That's gone.
It's
It will
all
now
like
just
5
be
years.
MLB's distribution of Cardinals games moving forward. All right, Alex. So speaking of the Cardinals, they're probably not going to be very good this year.
But
earlier today, I saw some one of my fellow nerds.
Oh, God, you know where this segment's headed.
TJ Stats over on Twitter.
That's his burner account.
Tweeted out the 2026 projected wins above replacement by teams based upon their Fangraphs depth charts. Boy, that's a lot of nerdy words.
And BK just couldn't stop getting more and more excited.
So they put together, it's this full ranking of where everybody stands on their total wins above replacement for the season. For what it's worth, the Cardinals are 25th on this. They're projected for 32 wins with their pitchers and their hitters. Number one on this list, you may be surprised to learn this, Alex, it is actually the LA Dodgers. And the gap between the Dodgers and the second place Toronto Blue Jays is the same as the Blue Jays, who again are in second place, and the Giants, who are in 16th.
That's not possible. The Dodgers have traded all their best assets for all the superstars they have on their team.
Yep. The Dodgers are second in pitching behind only the Boston Red Sox, and they are first in position players. So
That was shocking on the pitching.
they're pretty good.
Why? They just keep bringing in number ones that are going to get hurt halfway through the season.
Their second.
Yeah. The only teams that are projected for fewer wins above replacement on the pitching side of things than the Cardinals are the Nationals and the Rockies.
That's
not great.
That's a good company to be in.
Yeah, that's not great.
That signifies 100 losses.
On the position player side of things, though, Alex, I do find this to be kind of interesting, and I think it's a conversation starter, if nothing else. The Cardinals are right there kind of in the middle of the pack. And that's not me telling you, hey, they're the best of the... No, they're middle of the pack. Right around a lot of other teams that are considered wild card contenders, if nothing else. Teams that are projected for similar wins above replacement by their position players as the Cardinals are for 2026 include the Boston Red Sox, the Milwaukee Brewers, the Texas Rangers, the Kansas City Royals, the Minnesota Twins, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Cleveland Guardians. A lot of teams that are in what T-Bone likes to call the muddy middle of Major League Baseball. Now, I think every team that I just mentioned is quite a bit higher projected when it comes to their pitchers than the Cardinals are. But if we just focus on the position player side of things, and you look at the teams that I just mentioned there, do you take anything away from that, Alex, on how the Cardinals are projected as overall players, not just hitters, but defense, base running, all of that is taken into account in wins above replacement? Does that tell you anything about the Cardinals' core position players?
I mean, it tells you the positioning where their roster is at is probably right, just in terms of being the middle, and they're not going to be a 100-loss team because they do have some good players on their roster. But I don't think it tells me anything because, like, looking at some of those, yes, some of those are playoff contending teams, but I just don't view the Cardinals in that same light. Like, they've got a lot of good players, but they just don't have players that have, I mean, frankly, they just don't have guys that have power. And I think that's very important. Can defense win you baseball games? Absolutely. Look at the Milwaukee Brewers. But they got an elite pitching staff as well. Can manufacturing runs and manufacturing power win you baseball games? Sure, but you got to get on base. I just look at the Cardinals, and I'm not so certain they have the necessary pieces to put themselves in that conversation.
How many Brewers do you think hit more than 20 home runs last year?
Well, the superstar Yelich
Had to have.
Churio?
I think he did.
Yeah, 21.
Hoskins, did he?
Nope, that was the
Okay, I
end of the
didn't
list.
think he
Contreras?
did. Okay, end of
Nope,
list.
that was the end of the list. There were two.
I figured if it wasn't
29 by Yelich, 21 by Churio. Next up on the team was Bryce Terang with 18. He was third on the team in home runs, and then Contreras had 17. Nobody else on the team had more than 12 last season. I'm not telling that's hard to repeat. I would say I don't think the Brewers will repeat that this season. I think the Brewers are going to fall off a bit this year. Now, I've been saying that every year for a decade.
I won't say that.
At some point, you'll be right.
I'm going to be right on this.
I won't say that.
Hell, I'll go with that. I agree.
I promise you, at some point, if they allow me to continue doing this into my 50s, I will get it right on the Brewers eventually. They're going to go down.
I don't like that success rate, though, man. You go for 47, and then I got it.
This time around, Quinn Priester will not have a 3.3 ERA. It's not happening.
Yeah, when he's
promise
42
you.
and he's retiring from the league.
Chad Patrick, who I'm not sure is a real human being.
Patrick.
That mother bleeper's not going to have a 3.5 ERA. That's not happening,
That's
man.
a create your own player off of MLB The Show.
They're not going to be able to figure this thing out again with Jose Quintana. It won't happen. There's no chance of it. Freddie Peralta ain't walking back through that door. I say all of that to say this, you look at the way that the Brewers were constructed last year, if not for an outstanding pitching staff, they wouldn't have been what we thought they were either. So I think the Cardinals' position players, man, they're pretty decent. They're lacking the star power. I think you could argue the same thing as I did argue and will argue. The Brewers also lacked star power. I don't think you can win a World Series that way. But if the plan is to try to get back to playoff contention sooner rather than later, if they can figure out this pitching, if they can get a few new contributors and Liam Doyle figures it out, Quinn Matthews figures it out, maybe they hit on one of the other guys, like Bryson Motts ends up being pretty good, Ishan Henderson ends up being pretty good, maybe one of the other young pitchers that's coming back from injury gets back on track by 2027. It could get figured out sooner rather than later. I think that would be the case for it, is looking at what they have position player-wise. Somebody breaks through, they go sign a superstar, and now you've got the pitching to be able to supplement that.
Yeah, and I agree on the pitching point because, when you look at teams like the Guardians, right, for example, who have a similar position player war, it's really, they've been known as a pitching factory.
Exactly.
And that's what really carries them. And the Brewers were the same way. Pitching was the thing that kind of carried them. Twins were that way when they were good.
Texas, honestly, kind of same thing.
Yeah.
They're known for their position players' names.
Yeah.
But it was really the pitching that carried them.
Agreed. But you look at these teams in this position player war, it just is a reminder also, I think, that when you look at the Cardinals, they still have some pretty good complementary pieces. Mm-hmm. But that's what sums up their parts, right? You look at the Guardians, for example. They are lacking some of those complementary pieces, but holy crap, they have Jose Ramirez. Same with the Royals, right? You look at the Royals. I mean, you are a Royals fan, so you saw that anything outside of Bobby Witt Jr. last year really couldn't hit a baseball. And that's what really held them back last year. But, man, Bobby Witt put together a 7-WAR season and carries them forward. So it's a reminder that you can still get to that muddy middle that we're talking about as a playoff contention team with really this position player grouping that the Cardinals have, long as, A, the pitching carries it. But if you're going to be able to get away from it and escape that muddy middle, you need someone to become your Bobby Witt or your Jose Ramirez that can come in and be a 7 to 9 WAR player and really lift that position player group.
And that's where the power comes in that Alex was talking about. The Cardinals are severely lacking in power. They just don't have any power to project right now. I saw that as well from this TJ Stats over on Twitter. He's got his projected home runs hit for 2026. Boy, is it bad for the Cardinals. I mean, they are one of the worst in Major League Baseball, which is not overly surprising, but just one of those reminders of how much ground they still have to gain. The Yankees are projected to lead Major League Baseball this year in home runs at 257. The Cardinals are projected to be second to last at 156. Almost more than 100 fewer home runs is their projection than the New York Yankees.
You know how you fix that?
Boy, that's even sad. That means if you remove Judge and 60 home runs, you're not even close still.
You fix that by
the White Sox are projected for 180.
Oh. You fix that by going to trade for Las Montez from the Seattle Mariners.
Or, hear me out. Just like one time we'll be right on the Brewers, one time I'll be right about a Gorman 40-homer season.
But I won't believe in that.
How many home runs do you think the Brewers are projected for this year? The Cardinals are at 156.
Well, you just mentioned that they only had two 20-plus homer guys.
And they lost Hoskins.
Yeah, so that's home runs.
But they brought in what's-his-face that was good for them last year, Vaughn. Is that who he was?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll say 165.
What did you say the number is for the Cardinals?
156.
I'll say they're at like 170.
162. Tied for 27th with the Marlins. Tied for 28th. Marlins and the Pirates. All have the same power projection.
That's a pretty hitter-friendly ballpark in Milwaukee, too.
The NL Central, not exactly the home for a lot of home runs.
So that's why you got to capitalize on the landscape. Go out there and find your power.
Where do the Reds rank? This may have been done before they signed Suarez.
I think it was. This was from January 30th. So this would not include Suarez. So that probably bumps them about 15 or 20. They were at 185, which was 17th in Major League Baseball. Cubs are 11th at 200 home runs projected for 2026.
That feels about right.
So Cubs at 11, Reds at 17, Brewers and Pirates tied for 28th, Cardinals 29th in Major League Baseball. Feel the excitement. The NL Central, baby.
Feel the red.
If you love manufacturing runs in baseball, watch the NL Central. Because that's what the Pirates...
Maybe not the Cardinals, though.
The Brewers and the Cardinals. Well, they're going to have to do it if they're going to score runs this year.
Well, I guess that's fair.
All right, here we go. I've got some more information on the Cardinals TV. Cardinals.tv is where you can go to get all of this information if you want to read it for yourself. Fans can enjoy access to all in-market Cardinals TV broadcasts via direct-to-consumer streaming and a wide variety of cable and satellite providers as well. So they will, according to the Cardinals, be available on cable or satellite. Streaming packages are available for $100 per season. $99.99 per season, or $19.99 a month. You get to choose. If you think the Cardinals are going to be no good this year and you want to hedge your bets, could go ahead and go with the $19.99 per month and then not have to pay for the final couple of months. Just saying, that's an option for you.
I'd probably lean that route.
Sign up to receive more information in advance of the February 10th on sale date. So you've got about a week before this officially goes on sale. Local Cardinals games will be produced and distributed by Major League Baseball. Nothing changes for you, the fan, except for the channel number that you will tune in to watch the game. So that's the biggest change here, is how that's going to work. In-market Cardinals.tv subscribers can stream all Cardinals broadcasts with no blackouts. How about that? So all locally produced broadcasts will be available in the market. National TV games, though, will not be available, as you would expect, on the Cardinals.tv platform. So all of the locally produced games will now be available to you with no blackouts. That's a huge change for the Cardinals. The home territory is basically all of Iowa, Illinois, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and most of the state of Missouri.
Boy, that is a big change then. Because how many states you just named there? 5?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then there's also parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana as well. That would be considered part of the home territory.
Wow.
Will I be able to watch the Cardinals games if I already have the standard MLB.TV package, but not the Cardinals.TV package? If you already have the MLB app downloaded, you're one step closer to watching Cardinals baseball. Cardinals fans living within the home TV network area must purchase a Cardinals subscription for the Cardinals games. Only fans who live outside of that home market would be able to watch the Cardinals games with a standard package. So if you're in Iowa, Illinois, Arkansas, Oklahoma, or those small ranges in Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, or Kansas as well, you would need to buy the Cardinals.TV package, not just the MLB TV package, in order to watch Cardinals home games.
That makes sense.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool. You guys have any other questions?
I didn't have that question, but...
Cool.
No.
All right.
Great. So that's the latest update on Cardinals.
Does this mean we can go splurge in free agency now? Valdez is still available.
You get about 50% of what you were making previously, according to other teams that have made that.
All right. So, no. And we won't get back to 180 million payroll. So.
At least not immediately.
Or
I'm sure the ballpark will be packed, though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So as I asked, at the Cardinals winter warm-up. Was this always going to be necessary? And then there was a word salad that came back.
Something like that's a
and
rhetorical
I said,
question.
That's not really what I'm asking.
Let me try again.
You didn't answer because you gave him tone.
Given the change in revenues that are expected, this is not any longer hypothetical. Now it is very real. Change in revenue via the TV stream, change in revenue via the tickets. Was it always going to be necessary to move on from some of these veterans like Wilson Contreras, Sonny Gray, Nolan Arenado, et cetera, in order to make the product, match what the revenues are? The answer was, that's hypothetical. We can't answer that. I think the answer is now, yes, it would have been necessary. In some way, shape, or form. Maybe they wouldn't have had to do all of that, but I think they were probably going to have to go in a new direction one way or the other. That's why they brought in Hein Bloom. Coming up next, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for In or Out here on 101 ESPN. Unlock your inner champion today with Victory Men's Health. Check them out online at victorymenshealth.com. It's an incredibly easy process to book that first appointment to unlock your inner champion. Just go to their website, click on the upper right-hand portion of the page. You'll see that tab that says Book Now. Book that first appointment, baby. Put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. Could mean different things for different people. For some, that means erectile dysfunction issues that you'd like to get handled. For others, maybe it's weight loss goals that you tried doing it on your own. You had that New Year's resolution. You went to the gym, and now you're looking at your progress. You're like, man, it's not having the same effects that I was hoping. Well, they might be able to help you out with that over at Victory Men's Health. They can also check your testosterone levels. They've got vitamin infusions, supplement shop, red light therapy, cardiovascular testing, and so much more. 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. They're going to help you unlock your inner champion at Victory Men's Health and online today at victorymenshealth.com. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you if we are in or out here on BK and Ferrario. Guys, in or out, Brendan Donovan will be a member of the Cardinals by the time that they report for spring training.
I'm going to say out because of the Jerry DiPoto audio you played for us, but I can't tell you how many intrusive thoughts I have that it's in.
I'm going to say in. I'm going to say he's here. I don't know if he will break camp and come to St. Louis with them. I wonder if the final thing that Seattle needs is a look at what they actually have in spring training to then go, whoa, we could use Brendan Donovan. So I'll say in. He will report to spring training with the Cardinals.
I'm saying out for all the same reasons that Alex did. I think Jerry DiPoto is going to get this thing done.
Hell yeah.
Guys, he knows what he's still lacking. They very clearly have one need remaining on that team. Donovan has always been the perfect player to fit that hole for them. And they have all of the prospects capital in the world. It won't even require them to trade either of their top 2 or 3 prospects in their pool to get Brendan Donovan on their team. And that's if they overpay for him. So I will say out. I don't think he'll be on the roster. I think they will find a deal with the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, we ain't greedy. We just want Las Montez, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, in or out, a Blues player will win the Stanley Cup this season. Current Blues player, I should say.
I've got a lot of outs for this.
Current Blues player, not past Blues player.
Sure, I'll say in as well. I could see where Falk goes to a contender, wins the Stanley Cup. Shen could do the same thing. Oh, maybe they trade Binnington, and Binnington's the one that guides them to a Stanley Cup. I'll say in. I'm kind of with PK.
Yeah, I'm in on this one as well. I think one of Shen or Falk are going to be the one that win it, depending on where they go.
All right, my in or out might show you the flaws of WAR, but here we go. Guys, in or out, Victor Scott will lead the Cardinals in WAR position players this season.
Oh, that's fun. I'll say out. I think it will be J.J. Weatherholt this year.
Jeez.
That's fun. By the way, for context...
Out, it's Jordan Walker.
That'd be amazing.
For context, if Donovan gets traded, the top 2 leaders in WAR will be gone from the Cardinals because it was Contreras and Donovan from the position player side is what I'm solely talking about. Herrera, Wynn, and Scott all had 2.2 WAR last season. That's why I came up with this.
I'm going to say out because I think a sneaky one, Alec Burleson.
Is that on Baseball Reference?
Yeah, baseball B-WAR. B-WAR, not F-WAR.
B-WAR.
Fangraphs had Mason Wynn leading the team last year. He would be probably the favorite going in.
Yeah. I'm going to say out. Mine's sneaky Alec Burleson.
It's just really tough for him to do so because of how much of it is based on defense and base running.
Look, man, keep your opinions to yourself. I'll bring my opinions to the table.
I think he has a pretty good shot to be their best hitter. I would be a little surprised by the wins above replacement number.
Keep your opinions to yourself. I'll present mine.
I'll say out. I will still bet that it would be Mason Wynn. But for the guy that's been the most talked about since winter warm-up and Victor Scott, if he does end up not even being an average league hitter, but like 10% below, adds another couple stolen bases to that number and plays Gold Glove level defense, he'll have a shot to lead this team in WAR. The reason I wouldn't bet on Weatherholt, he's just a rookie. So I'm expecting him to have his struggles.
All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. From the 573, in or out, the Billikens will join the Big East. I'll say in. They didn't say a timeline on this, but I'll say in.
Yeah, in.
I don't know when that will happen, but I think eventually they'll be let in.
I'll say out. I don't think they'll be let into the Big East. They remain a mid-major.
From the 314, guys, in or out, Jordan Binnington will only get 1 game in the Olympics.
Out. I don't know why we're doing this.
Probably because he's been bad.
John Cooper, the coach of Team Canada, was the one that wanted Jordan Binnington on that roster. The coach wanted him on the roster.
There's a difference, though, between being on the roster and starting.
Sure.
If he doesn't play well in that first game, I do think they will probably go to somebody else.
They'll give somebody else a shot, but they're not going to go to somebody else consistently. I fully believe that when the first elimination game starts, Binnington's going to get that start.
I'm not as confident in
I'm
that.
very much not.
Yeah.
I would say, like, that there is so much evidence right now that he's just not in the same place. I don't know, man. I'll say in. I think there's a really good shot that Jordan Binnington is not the starting goalie for Canada this year.
Yeah, I'll still lean out, but I am not as confident in saying that he starts the elimination games. For how good they are, if he does look bad in the first game that he plays, I could see where they turn to one of their other 2 goaltenders that they bring and just say, look, Binnington's had a bad year. We brought him hoping we would see the big game Benner, and if he doesn't show it in the group stage, you turn to an elimination game, you have to turn to somebody else and just rely on the 6th best defenseman in the world to really stand up in front of him.
From the 314, in or out, we'll talk about trading one of Donnie, Kyrou, or Thomas every day for the next 3 weeks.
And what else are we going to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, what else is going on?
I'll be out of town next week, so
I'm going to be out of town for the weeks around him, so.
I'll be here.
Yep, T-Bone will
the
be
whole time.
T-Bone's going to be holding down the fort.
Somehow I will be here the whole time. I did not plan
You
this
get
well.
all 3 of us for 4 more days.
Yeah, basically.
And then until February 26th.
Next Monday we'll all be in, right?
Yeah.
In some capacity.
And then up Thursday, because I'm out on Friday. This
I see
Thursday.
what
So
you're
I'm
saying.
out on Friday, and then we're all
we
here
won't
Monday.
even get your Super Bowl prediction on Friday.
Yeah.
We'll have to do those on Thursday.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, the Seahawks are winning. It's not going to change between.
Wow, way to leave some suspense for that one.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what
All right, save your Super Bowl
expecting.
MVP for Thursday.
The Pro Bowl's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tell me it's the most irrelevant All-Star game without telling me.
It's on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Why?
I have no idea.
Shador was only available on Tuesday.
Probably. Him and Joe Flacco.
Yeah, they were only available then.
I thought it was on Sunday.
No,
man.
When did this happen?
this year.
Yeah, it was to say this season.
Okay.
I've known it's Tuesday. I don't think you got to worry about it.
I didn't know it was Tuesday. I just learned this because I pulled up the NFL scoreboard to find out where the line is at right now.
And the Pro Bowl popped up?
For the Super Bowl. And
bet
the
on a
Pro
dodgeball.
Bowl was the next game that popped up. And I was like, oh, that hasn't been played yet.
Again, tell me it's the most irrelevant All-Star game.
iRock says, who's filling in over the next couple of weeks? I don't know, man. We'll find out with you. Coming up in about 15 minutes or so, we'll dive into the junk drawer. But next, does it make sense at this point to wait a year to move on from Robert Thomas? Alex will explain his perspective on this next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues fell to the Blue Jackets over the weekend. They will be back in action tonight as they visit the Nashville Predators. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Then puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an Icon Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Nobody wants to see Robert Thomas traded. We should say that here. Best case scenario for the Blues is Robert Thomas becomes a 100-point player that we've all hoped that he could be.
I don't know, man. I think there's some Blues fans out there that are sitting there saying, Blues play better without Robert Thomas in the lineup.
Why'd you look at me when he said that?
Because that's kind of what you sound like, man. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
That being said, the buzz is going to be there, has been there, and it probably will continue to be there for at least till this year's trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Thomas just hasn't had that good of a season. Now, some of that very well might be because of this injury that he's been dealing with. He got a minor procedure recently, going to be out until after the Olympics. So that could be a significant factor in all of this. Alex, the Blues are almost certainly going to have a top 5 pick this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the players that we've talked about are wingers. Wingers that project to be legitimate top-line players. You don't have to squint. Just guys that are going to come in and you immediately are like, yeah, that guy's going to play 20 minutes and he's going to score 25 goals at the NHL level. You could write it in pen for the rest of their career. Does that give you second thoughts about trading Robert Thomas before seeing him with one of those guys?
Yeah, it does. And it puts me in the position of like, no, I don't think I would. Just because he plays such a prime position that you need to have success with. And I don't know if people just remember how good he was last year in the second half. He scored the most points in the National Hockey League last year out of the Four Nations break. He scored more points than Kucherov, more points than McKinnon, more points than Pasternak. He had 40 points in 26 games.
That's pretty good.
And 32 of them were
a hell of a heater.
32 of them were assists. So like he made that team better around them. So absolutely, I think before I pull the trigger on a Robert Thomas trade, because he hasn't been yet, can be that number one center, I want to see what it looks like with different weapons around him. If I'm moving some chairs around this trade deadline, this offseason, do I move on from Kyrou? Do I ship out Braden Shannon? Am I bringing in a top 3 pick? Am I bringing in Justin Carbonneau? What does it look like with different players around him? Because I'm like 75% convinced this injury with Robert Thomas has really significantly altered how he's played this season. And he comes back, and does he go on a heater down the stretch again? And you're like, oh, okay, he wasn't healthy. But then it begs the question of, well, why can't he stay healthy? Because that's 3 years now where he's been injured early on. But yeah, if you're telling me I'm going to have all of these shiny new toys next season to where maybe I acquire a top 6 piece in a trade of something they have on my roster, maybe I acquire it through the draft, maybe I have it in my minor league system right now. I want to see what it looks like around him before I trade that piece. And if it still looks bad next year, then you can have the conversations because people are still going to want Robert Thomas's services.
That's where I fall as well. I don't think that I would trade Robert Thomas until I see what he looks like with whoever it is that you're able to get, hopefully in the top 3 of this upcoming NHL draft.
Yeah.
I want to see it. I want to see him with legit top-line players. I think we've been trying to put these square pegs into a round hole for multiple years now. I don't think the Blues have had a single legitimate top-line winger with Robert Thomas. I think there was maybe a season where you could have had Pavel Buchnevich in that category. He would have fit. But beyond that, I mean, who's the guy? Who's the guy that you would put into that category that's been playing with Robert Thomas? I like Jordan Kyrou a lot, and I think he's going to go on to have success elsewhere. I think in an ideal situation, he is a second-line winger on a winning team where you can take advantage of the matchups for him. That's how I view him. And there's a lot of NHL wingers that fit into that criteria. I think they are still lacking that legit top-line winger presence, that number one go-to guy that you would say is a pairing mate with Robert Thomas. And the hope would be you can get that guy this upcoming season in the NHL draft. Yeah. Will he immediately come in and take the league by storm? Maybe not. I'd like to see what it looks like first, though, before I decide to move on from a 26-year-old number one center who I immediately have to replace in the event that I decide to move on from him. I don't feel that same way about Kyrou. I do feel that about Thomas.
Well, and the other thing that I want to see after this break, now that Jimmy Snuggerud is taking on this shot-first mentality, I want to see them put those two back together for the rest of the season. Because I think Snuggerud has the ability to be that, but you just have to continue to grow and develop into that position. But you just got to put the necessary pieces around him, and I think you just need guys that can think on the same playing level as Robert Thomas, and that truly can come from a top 3 pick if you are lucky enough to pick there, whether it's McKenna, whether it's Stenberg. You've got to have a guy who's in the same line of thinking and sees the ice like Robert Thomas. And then if it's still not working, if he's healthy, if you've got the stars around him and he starts off porous next year, then you can start having the conversations of, cool, we've already separated from a piece of this core. Now it's time to move on from the other piece of the core.
That's how I feel. I would wait, see what it looks like this time next year. If it's not working and you don't need to see anything more, all right, now we can have the conversation about what the future looks like for Robert Thomas here in St. Louis. T-Bone, do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I would listen on him still. Because I don't view Thomas the same way as you guys. I view him as still as a... If we're going to say that the core was a part of the problem for the Blues, I think Thomas takes on a pretty big chunk of that blame as well, along with a Kyrou and a Buchnevich. I would listen to Thomas. I don't see Thomas as the guy, like you mentioned, the wingers, and I think that is a fair argument. That is, hey, he hasn't had a top-line winger with him, but I don't see him lift up guys as much as other top centers do in the National Hockey League. And I think with that being said, I would listen on Thomas.
What do you mean when you say that?
Well, I'm thinking like Kurt Suzuki, someone that we've pointed to. Or sorry, Nick Suzuki.
Kurt Suzuki is a catcher for the Washington Nationals.
He didn't lift up a lot of guys around him either in his career. Now he's a manager, though. You know, leading the LA Angels for a year before he's fired.
Place that all managers go to die.
Nick Suzuki is someone that I would circle now. You would say he's got one with him, but we talked about this as well. He was able to lift up an Alexander Texier, who they put on his line, and Texier all of a sudden was able to click into place.
Isn't that, though, in part because they had that other player?
Maybe. I think it's on the center, right? I think a center's the one that would drive that for everybody on that line.
I understand, but the gravity that the other player would have, like the Blues have in this scenario, let's call it, the Suzuki. They're missing whoever that second
They're missing
piece
the Caulfield.
is. Exactly. And that's where the gravity comes in, where the defenders are pulled toward that other player, which then opens up opportunity for the third winger on that line. And that's what the Blues have been missing is I think they have a lot of guys that can fit into that third winger on a top line role. I think Snuggie could be that. I think Neighbors could be that. I think even Booch at times when he's playing well could be that. I think maybe down the road you could see some other guys that fit into that criteria. I don't think they have the second piece on that top line.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Caulfield has been. I mean, that's a 1-2 punch that just accelerates everyone else that plays on that line. But I mean,
Caulfield last year had 37 goals, and this year he already has 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I view it as I don't think Thomas is a guy that can lift the guys up around him. I don't see him that way, and I get it. Look, he's had back-to-back really good years prior to this. He was disappointing prior to the 20-game run last year with the St. Louis Blues. So if you put that into the case that we've talked about, that we just kind of judge this team on a misstep from a 20-game, 25-game hot stretch, Thomas has been disappointing prior to that. But he had a really good year last year. I just don't see him that way.
Remember,
I don't.
Prior to that stretch last season with Four Nations, he had that injury that kept him out for 2 or 3 weeks. In 44 games last year, he put up 13 goals and had 41 points, and that was in the midst of having a lower body injury that kept him out for 12 games. So, I mean, he still has been a point-per-game player prior to that Four Nations run. He was your best. He and Jordan Kyrou were your best players early on last season, and then he just went off for the second half once he was healthy and once the Blues kind of figured out their ish. So, I mean, the scary part for me is if Robert Thomas is actually dealing with this injury from start to finish, and Joey addressed this on pregame, he said, from what people don't know, he said, I've had conversations with Thomas, and he's been banged up all season. And it goes back to that in late October when he was injured against Detroit, and he missed about 4 games, came back, and then just kind of been pushing his way through this injury nonstop. I would hate to... This is a different category than Jordan Kyrou because Jordan Kyrou plays a position that you've got a lot of pieces on, and it just has never clicked consistently. Robert Thomas plays a premier position that you have to have if you want to win a Stanley Cup. And he's also dealt with injuries the last 2 seasons, and you also have not had the supporting cast around him. I'd be cautious.
The list of forwards since the start of the 2021 season, which is when he became a full-time top 6 forward for the Blues, list of forwards in that stretch that have more assists than Robert Thomas over that stretch. Connor McDavid, Nikita Kucherov, Nathan MacKinnon, Mitch Marner, Leon Draisaitl, Timmy Panarin, Mikko Rantanen, David Pastrnak, Sidney Crosby, JT Miller, end of list.
Yeah, I think I saw something earlier this season from Jay Fresh. This season, in the expected primary assists per 60 minutes, which super analytics, but basically the primary assists that should be happening.
How often do you give a great assist chance to your line mate?
Yeah, and how often has this team missed the back of the net? But his expected primary assists per 60 minutes this season is 3rd best in the National Hockey League, behind McDavid and McKinnon.
He's an excellent distributor. I don't think there's any arguing that.
It's just you've got to find the goal scorer, and you have suffered tremendously. We talked earlier in the show about, why have the Blues struggled so much this season? And as much as I'll blame the goaltending, I'll also blame the ability to put the puck in the back of the net.
100%.
I mean, you just have guys who, now you're starting to see it with Snuggerud. I mean, that one-timer is starting to become real. Imagine Thomas putting the puck on Snuggerud's stick. If you can get a goal scorer, that's where I think it uplifts the Snuggerud. Where on the flip side of this, because I know people are probably saying, well, you're a hypocrite because you want to trade Kyrou. Kyrou's not finishing with the primary assists that are being delivered to him.
Exactly, and I don't think he fits with Robert Thomas.
No. They've tried that for the last 3 years, and it just has not clicked consistently enough.
So that's not going to be the pairing, and I don't think Booch is that guy. I don't think Snuggerud is that primary guy. I think he can maybe be the 3rd piece on a top line, but I do not think he's the primary winger for a top line. I don't think you have that player currently on the roster, and I think it's been a really long time since you've had that guy. I think the closest thing they've had has been like Vladdy. That was 5 years ago. You could maybe make an argument, and I don't even know that he necessarily fits to this degree, but I suppose you could go down this lane of like David Perron was perfect for the way that Ryan O'Reilly wanted to win, but that's not your typical top pair guy for a top line. It's been a long time since they've had that legit go-to winger for a top line, and that's what they're missing. And I don't want to give up on a 26-year-old center that's shown the ability consistently to produce 60 assists. Don't want to give up on that until I see what it looks like with one of those players. Let's find out what it looks like with Cole Caulfield.
Yeah.
What does it look like when we have that guy here in St. Louis? The tough part is, will you be able to see that right away? Or will you be waiting 3 years and we'll keep having this conversation, and now he's 30 years old and you finally realize, all right, yeah, no, Thomas was the problem, and now you've waited too long, you don't have the same value in him, and you've ended up in this spot. It's a tough decision if you're
I do think you have to be a little trigger happy with the Robert Thomas if it doesn't work early on next season. Like if it starts off slow, let's say you draft Gavin McKenna and he looks to be this guy, and you start off porous again and he's not performing. I do think you probably have to be a little quick in the reaction on that.
If you're going to do that, though, then just do it now. Like, I think you need to give it the entire year next year, because rookies, generally speaking, don't come in and take the league by storm. You're going to see some flashes, but more often than not, like, look back at Connor Bedard's first season.
No, typically a top 3 pick does end up right away impact. Like Celebrini, we knew right away last year was going to be a stud.
He was good, but like Connor Bedard, year 1, 22 goals, 61 points, minus 44. Celebrini, even though he was awesome last year, look at the overall numbers: 25 goals, 63 points, minus 31.
The hard part is those are centers.
It's year 2 that you normally see.
The hard part is those are centers, and they take on such a higher responsibility than what a winger does, because, like, if you're drafting the winger and he's playing with Robert Thomas has got all the responsibility. Like, I look at a guy like Demidov. He's drafted 5th overall with Montreal. Now, when he was drafted, he played an extra year in the KHL, but when he came to the NHL, he only played 7 games in the regular season and postseason. This is his first full year, and he's got 11 goals and 45 points in 55 games. So sometimes wingers click if you get the right guy. But the other one that I could show you is Slavkovsky, who was drafted 1st overall. First full season, I guess, if you want to call it that. He dealt with injuries. He had 4 goals and 10 points in 39 games. But his second full season, he had 20 goals and 50 points. And now he's got 21 and 55. So it really comes down to who you draft and what the identity is. But you can't look at a center and say, well, look how long it took this guy, because they take on such a larger chunk of responsibility than what a winger does. A winger comes in and essentially says, you're going to be the top guy, create offense with Robert Thomas.
All right, I'll go ahead and throw it this way. How many guys in the last decade do you think, as rookies, had 30 or more goals?
Oh.
One.
Are we going strictly wingers or just guys in general?
Players in the last decade that had at least 30 goals as a rookie.
There's probably somebody that's done it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 3.
5. 3 of them are 24 or older. Kuzmenko was 26.
That was a failure. That's a off ice stuff. People are saying that Rick Tocchet doesn't get along well with Russian players, so we'll put that aside.
Kubalik was
Dominic Kubalik. Oh my gosh,
was 24.
Tebow doesn't even remember that.
Austin Matthews, Patrick Laine, Artemi Panarin.
Patrick Laine is what you hope happens if you draft a player, and Artemi Panarin is another one. But was Artemi Panarin drafted that high?
He was 24 years old when he was.
But he wasn't drafted in the top 5, was he?
He was not.
He was undrafted. Yeah, he was an undrafted. He came over from Russia. Laine is what you hope. Laine is you hope you strike gold because he had a 40-goal season his first year. You put him right into the top 6 with guys like Scheifele and Brian Little.
The reason I bring that up is because that's what it takes for you to see the kind of production that we're talking about. You would need 30-plus goals. The Blues have had 25-goal scorers on the top line. Like, we've already seen what that looks like. We're talking about taking Robert Thomas's game to the next level. That means 30 goals from his primary winger. And we're saying you'd need to see that in year 1 from a rookie. And that's happened 5 times over the last decade. And 3 of those 5 or 2 of those 5 were over the age of 24, which is a bit of an unfair comparison to the guys that we're talking about for the Blues. So it would be a significant historical outlier for Robert Thomas and this winger to produce the way that we would need to see right away. I think you'd have to give it the full year and then some, potentially.
That's why, to me, I think you're either listening, which is what I am open to doing. I didn't say I was trading him, but I am definitely listening, more open so than you guys. But I think if you decide you're keeping him and you are doing the experiment that we just ran through, I don't think it is a one-year thing. I think you're waiting 2-3 years before you then potentially try and pull the trigger.
Let me correct myself. I'm listening on everything. I'm just not pulling the trigger on this unless it is a Godfather offer that's like, I cannot pass this up.
That's where I'm at.
Like, you look at this and say, like, this is franchise altering to where we are a contender next year if we trade Robert Thomas.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. The Junk Drawer is next year on 101 ESPN. Did you watch the Grammys yesterday, Alex?
I did not. We bedtime was around the Grammys, and then after bedtime, Katie and I finished a documentary we were watching.
Justin Bieber did a performance in his underwear.
Okay, I'm glad I missed it.
There was a lot of interesting attire for the Grammys.
I did see the clips this morning of...
You see Chapel Roan, what she wore?
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if I saw Chapel Roan.
I saw that one.
Nipple tassel things going on there.
I did.
Yeah.
Now that you say
The only
that,
clip I saw was where they did the honor towards Ozzy Osbourne. That was really awesome. Where they had Post Malone singing War Pigs. That was really cool. That was it.
He's wildly talented.
Yeah, I'm glad I missed Justin Bieber performing in his underwear because I don't really need to see that.
I saw a tweet that said, I watch the Grammys nowadays and realize I'm not caught up on pop culture. And that was me seeing all the names that were walking on the red carpet on Twitter last night.
I'm very comfortable just listening to my own music and not
that's what I wanted to ask
my horizon.
You about. As I saw the best new artists, I liked what they did. They had each of them do like a quick performance prior to ultimately announcing who won Best New Artist this year. That's a smart way to go about this.
Are we about to play a game Artists Are Not a Real Person?
How many of these individuals have you heard of? Olivia Dean, who won it, she's really talented. I was very impressed by her performance. I had not previously heard of her work. Cat's Eye,
No.
a K-pop group.
No, never heard.
The Marias.
Nope.
Let me guess, are they all named Maria?
I don't believe so.
Oh, well, that's a dumb band to name then.
Somber.
No.
I am old.
Same.
Leon Thomas.
No.
Nope.
Alex Warren.
No.
Great
You're
name.
probably familiar
I think
with one of
I
his
might have
songs.
heard of him. Yeah.
Lola Young. You've probably heard of one of her songs as well. The one
that one I'm not as confident in.
And then the one that I really wanted to ask you about, Addison Rae. Are you familiar with this individual?
I've heard of her.
Nope.
She started, I think, as a TikTok influencer, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Yeah. I know the name.
I don't get it.
I don't either. But
I don't understand.
I don't get music today anyway.
She is a beautiful woman, and I think that's great that she's had all of this success. That's fantastic. I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal.
What's the song? Can you sing it for me?
No, that's the thing. I don't know if she actually sings. A lot of what she does is apparently lip singing.
Oh,
now,
God.
I can't tell if what she did yesterday was a lip sync or a real song, and it's hers. I truly do not know. I apologize, all of the youth out there listening. I'm not familiar with your girl, Addison Rae, who's apparently a huge celebrity on the TikTok machine.
Yeah.
I was
zero
reminded
knowledge.
yesterday of how little I know about what's going on some of these other apps. Mm-hmm. I'm completely disconnected. I know most of the other people that were a part of this. Like, I told you guys about Chapel Roan before Chapel Roan got as big as she did.
Huge chaperone fan.
Big fan. This Addison Rae individual, I had no awareness of her prior to yesterday.
No interest and no knowledge. It's kind of where I'm at. Like, okay, I'm comfortable in my own world, just listening to Blink 182 and AC/DC on my phone. I don't expand my horizon with music.
I'll be honest, the only reason I probably know of Addison Rae is because I have cousins that did come up with in the TikTok realm, so they at least keep me somewhat cultured.
Is it just dancing? Is that it?
As far as I know, I think that's what she became known for was that, and then I don't know what she's done.
I've never
now,
understood
to your
TikTok.
point.
I've never understood Tiktok.
Well, now it's everything,
Now
right?
it's everything,
it can be whatever you want.
But it
to
started as like a bunch of dances. I think what made it
curate
popular.
it to your biggest interest.
You could learn to love TikTok based on the nice formula that they have to keep you on the app.
Gives you a nice dopamine hit every time you open the app.
I'll pass.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah. I'm
good dopamine.
I'm pretty comfortable in my own world. I'll just stay in that bubble.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm
Lame
BK. It's
world.
BK and Ferrario here on 101
great
ESPN. In 15 minutes, we're going to dive into some NFL quick hitters as the NFL officially begins Super Bowl week this week out in San Francisco. Apparently not to a whole lot of fanfare. I saw some pictures of the...
We're waiting for the Pro Bowl to finish.
Yeah. The San Francisco airport apparently had zero signage up that the Super Bowl is being played this week in San Francisco.
Well, they're still grieving over the 49ers loss.
Coming up next, how would you evaluate the Cardinals offseason if this is the way that it ends? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, Ken Rosenthal on foul territory saying the Red Sox saved some money by trading Jordan Hicks. And, quote, to this point, their team is still one hitter short. The Seattle Mariners president of baseball operations said yesterday at their version of winter warm-up multiple times, feel like we've still got one more move in us.
Yeah. Sorry, Boston. Donovan's unavailable. We're working on a deal with Seattle.
There are still options on the table for the Cardinals to trade Brendan Donovan. However, if the offseason ended and this is everything that they were able to get accomplished, they did not trade Brendan Donovan. They do not go out and sign another right-handed bat, which apparently they still want to do, and I'm not entirely sure who that bat could be outside of Miguel Andujar, but we'll get to that at a later date. How would you grade the offseason? Over on The Athletic, Jim Bowden did exactly that. He said they get a B, and he wrote the following. The High and Bloom era has officially begun in St. Louis. His first offseason running the team was highlighted by dealing veterans Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, and Nolan Arenado, all of whom waived their no-trade clauses. The Cardinals focused on obtaining young, controllable pitching prospects back in all of their deals, with lefty Brandon Clark from the Gray deal having the highest upside. The biggest question that he has remaining, how soon will top prospects like J.J. Weatherholtz, Liam Doyle, and Joshua Baez get promoted to the big leagues, and how good will they be when they do arrive? Prediction, 5th place in the division for the upcoming season. But he gave them a B for what they were able to accomplish for the offseason, given where they're at in their life cycle. How would you grade it, Alex?
I'd give him a C+. You can't get a B for me because I just think it's a massive loss to not trade Brendan Donovan. If you're able to trade Brendan Donovan, I think to me it's an A offseason. You accomplished something that I didn't think was possible, moving off of Nolan Arenado. You brought back a decent return for Sonny Gray and Wilson Contreras. But you get docked by not trading Donovan, in my opinion. I think that's a piece you have to move on from. So, yeah, it would be a C+ because I still think it's a good offseason, but the Donovan move is the concerning part for me.
Yes, I would go higher. There is a little bit of a dock on not moving Donovan, but I would go B+. I like the fact that, whether you want to say he convinced ownership or ownership finally caved and realized they had to put money in these deals, Chaim Bloom was still able to get interesting prospects from the Contreras and the Gray deals, and he did what I thought was almost impossible, trade Nolan Arenado. Then he went out and signed Dustin May. They needed a starter to add to the rotation. That was a high upside signing to where if it works, you can trade him at the deadline, so they accomplished that. The only thing they haven't accomplished is signing a right-handed bat, and I don't even know how much of a need that actually is for them, and not moving Donovan. I think if they move Donovan, odds are it becomes an A offseason for Chaim Bloom. Right now, I would give it a B+. Even if they don't move Donovan, I still think it was very successful to get off those bloated contracts and get some prospects in return.
I would go B-, somewhere in between. I think everything they've done to this point makes sense. It's hard to argue the logic of trading the veterans that they did. It's hard to argue with the return that they were able to get for said veterans. It's hard to argue with the way that they included money in these deals to get better prospects, or in the case of Nolan Arenado, to move the contract as they've always needed to do. So it's hard to really push back too much against the moves that they've actually made. It's more to me about the move that they haven't made just yet. That's holding me back from getting it to a higher grade. I just view this, and I said this in the open today, it's my honest-to-God opinion on the matter, and I get it. There are differing perspectives that people can have. I don't understand the case for keeping Brendan Donovan without a contract extension. I get the case for extending him. I get the case for trading him. Keeping him without an extension is very confusing to me, given where the Cardinals are at this moment in their life cycle. He's a good player. He's helpful to have around your young players. I don't think that he will have the same value at this year's trade deadline as he has currently, because there will be more pivot points for teams at the deadline than there are today. There's just more players available at the deadline than there are today when more teams currently think they're in it. It's the thing that I'm having the toughest time explaining or understanding from their offseason if they decide not to trade him. But that, to me, is the one thing really holding me back from an A grade for them.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have the problem if Donovan's back and he's not extended, but I don't like contract extensions, period. So, and I view it as you just move him at the trade deadline.
Can you give me the case? I'm not like disagreeing with you. I'm truly struggling to understand the case.
I think the case would be that if you don't think you're actually able to turn this around quicker than expected, you don't want to extend someone into their 30s.
No, give me the case for keeping Donnie without the extension.
Yeah. Well, I think it's what I said there. Like, you hold on to him because you don't. Right now, I think you have to hold the high price point, right?
But why?
Because I think you set what you believe is the value of the player, and you still have the deadline on teams right now, which is going into, like Seattle, for example. They don't really have another pivot right now towards what they're looking to upgrade on. You could argue Miguel Andujar. They're on more budget restrictions, and Donovan is cheaper in terms of cash. So I think you still hold that high asking price for him, and then if something doesn't happen by the time you get to spring training, a deal can still happen in spring training, so you continue to hold that asking price. And then if you go into the season with him, yes, his value has decreased, but I don't know if it's significant enough to where you still don't mind trading him once you get to the trade deadline.
That's where I disagree. I think right now they're asking for 2 top 50 prospects, and nobody wants to pay that. And if you wait, you're not going to get a top 100 prospect.
I still think you get a top 100 prospect at the deadline.
I don't think so.
I think so, because you're still talking 2 postseason runs with him, and he can fill multiple positions.
But there's no guarantee of that.
Yeah, and
because next year we don't know what's going to happen.
And how am I supposed to believe that the Cardinals do that?
We don't seem to. Baseball has not seemed to indicate that they are operating under scared pretenses that the lockout's going to knock out a season. Everybody that's reporting around baseball says, hey, executives aren't really saying that that's playing much into their offseason plans. So I don't think that is something that is viewed across the industry. I think that is something
will that
we
continue
talk
to
about.
Be the case in July?
I think so. I don't think you're going to see teams balk from that now.
But why should
teams prioritize paying less for a guy that's on an expiring deal? Because if there's a pivot for Donnie, because there will be some, and if it's a second baseman, third baseman, first, outfield, whatever, there will be guys available at all of these respective positions. And if I can go get that pivot point that's on an expiring deal and pay less for him than giving up more for Donnie when there is uncertainty that looms for the 2027 season, why would I go get Donnie? That's what I don't understand, is that if you're in Chaim Bloom's shoes, there's very much no guarantee that deal's going to be there for you at the deadline. And the next offseason, that's when it's the hardest, because the offseason will be cut short. There will literally be some sort of a lockout that prevents you from making moves. So you'll have about a month after the season gets done to make the deal, and then you're under the gun to make a deadline kind of a move once again. And that's the worst case scenario.
And why should I trust the Cardinals if they're not willing to lower the price now, that they're going to lower the price again?
Because they'll have to lower then. Again, it doesn't have, I don't think it's as significant, but I don't mind playing out the process if he's back and hoping that you end up getting the offer. Because I do think someone that is a good team would look at Donovan and say, why would I go get the rental when I can get Donovan for 2 postseason runs?
There's just so much risk in it. There's so much risk. There's risk in him not being as good this season. There's risk in him getting hurt. There's risk in there being too many players that are pivot points from Donnie at the trade deadline, to where then, because of the supply that's available at his position, I mean, think about the guys that were available last year and how little they got on the position player market in return. Really good players. Josh Naylor, really good player. I understand not the same flexibility as Donnie, but a really good player that can help a team potentially go and win the World Series. Got them basically nothing.
Yeah, and rental too, by the way. Naylor rental, Suarez rental, and again, the lack of versatility. Like, I think there's more value there at Donovan at the deadline.
Maybe there's more value than those guys. Is there the value that there is today? Maybe not. And that's where I
think that's a bad risk.
I really struggle with it. It's a lot of risk with very little upside.
And it's a bad place to be if you're a rebuilding team, to be taking risks like that. When you can get some type of certainty now, even if it's not what you are putting the value on him, Major League Baseball knows what he is.
I still think they're going to get something done. This whole conversation is operating under the assumption that they don't.
Yeah.
It's operating under the assumption that they go into the season with Brendan Donovan probably as their leadoff guy. Brendan Donovan's a good player. I like him. I'm happy to watch him play baseball every night. From a process perspective, given the fact that they don't clearly expect to be contending this season, I would find that to be a confusing move, and I'm open to hearing the explanation on why I'm wrong on this. I'm not telling you I've got all the answers and that I'm 100% right and they're wrong, but no, I just haven't heard a compelling case yet on why it would make all the sense in the world to wait and move him either at the deadline or in the offseason. I have not heard yet a compelling case on why that's the case.
You and I have talked like 4 or 5 times, so it hasn't been compelling enough.
No,
yet.
it hasn't moved me at all.
Boy.
Maybe there is one. I have not yet heard one. Coming up in about 15 minutes, the path is clear for how Mizzou makes it to the NCAA tournament. Are they capable of taking advantage? We'll get into that coming up in 15 minutes. But next, NFL Quick Hitters here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Classic Air Care, the company that has been making people comfortable since 1926. And when it comes to your HVAC system, you need a company that you can trust. Those older units, if you've got one, I had 2 of them when I bought my first home back in 2016. And when we bought our current home, both units over 25 years of age. And Classic Air Care was able to take care of both of them. You use them because of the knowledge that they provide. You've got technicians that have been doing this for 30 plus years. Also incredible customer service. They've got something called the maintenance agreement where twice a year they come out, spring and the fall, check the unit, clean it, make sure everything's working for you. But if issues pop up, like they do when it gets this cold out or when it gets super hot out in the summertime, you get priority scheduling thanks to that maintenance agreement over at Classic Air Care. They've got thousands of positive reviews talking about the service, like this one from Jeremy. Woke up to a malfunctioning furnace on Christmas morning, called Classic Air Care to help. Justin was at my house on call the next morning at 8 a.m. on a holiday week. He got a great explanation of what was wrong, quick resolution. Couldn't recommend them more. Make sure you ask for Justin. So call him today, schedule online, check out that maintenance agreement. Just do me a favor and tell him Alex Ferrario sent you. That's Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Hey, coming up at the end of this segment, all of a shot to score a pair of tickets to the Sunset Hills Subaru Blues Alumni Experience. That'll be at Mardi Gras next Saturday, February the 14th. It's in Soulard. We'll
Mardi
have
Gras!
tickets to that to give away for you coming up at the end of this segment. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Keep that number handy. Let's dive into some NFL quick hitters as we officially begin Super Bowl week out in San Francisco, Alex. Radio Row today out there. I've been to one Radio Row. Have you ever been? T-Bone?
No, we haven't even had a NFL team my whole time.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. It's a cool experience. What do you think is going to be the biggest storyline for this year's Super Bowl, Alex? Do you have one that stands out to you?
Probably the fresh faces in the Super Bowl. Like, I feel like that would be the biggest storyline of. It's not the Chiefs. It's not the...
So the storyline is what's not happening at the Super Bowl?
I kind of think it is.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just find that to be interesting.
Or I guess it's the fresh faces in terms of...
Wouldn't this be more exciting if Mahomes was here?
Remember when Mahomes and Brady had their annual...
I don't know if you guys felt that way watching...
Flew out to San Francisco.
I don't know if you guys felt that way watching Patriots and Broncos, but that's how I felt the entire time.
I enjoyed it because it was snowing.
Oh, God. No, I mean, it could be also the coach. Like, I think Mike Vrabel's appearance in the Super Bowl and his second season with the Patriots is probably a big storyline. It's his first? This is his first full season? My God, why did I feel like last year was his first full season?
No, they fired that coach. One and done, baby.
Mayo.
Oh, yeah, that didn't go very well.
Second year, though, for the Seahawks.
I don't think the storyline is anything on the players, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think if it is on the players, I think it's on... Either May or Darnold. I'm not sure who.
I don't feel like it's on Darnold for some reason.
I don't know. Darnold's a good story of a guy that was a high first-round pick that failed spectacularly in a huge market like New York, then had a second opportunity with Carolina where, once again, failed spectacularly, along with Baker Mayfield, by the way. Both failed at the same time in Carolina. And then goes on to be a backup quarterback, gets in the Shanahan offense, and kind of like a coach with Shanahan, gets a cup of coffee with him, then becomes a starting quarterback and has success. I almost feel like he's a bigger story than Drake May because May was supposed to be a guy that was supposed to turn the franchise around as a franchise quarterback. Not this quickly, probably, in year two, but eventually was supposed to be viewed as that guy. Like, I would argue New England's probably a year ahead of schedule. I think Darnold might be the biggest storyline at the Super Bowl because it's just an incredible story.
I'll go Seahawks defense. I think that's the biggest storyline. I think the biggest story of the season was how much defense was ahead of offense across the NFL. And all year long, it felt that way. It felt like it was a defense and running game kind of a season. And, man, do the Seahawks resemble that. Kenneth Walker has been amazing in this year's postseason. And their defense is just crushing the opposition. And the craziest part is how few household names they have. Most of the time, when you get to this point of the season and you've got a team that got there because of their defense, man, you've got future Hall of Famers. You've got guys that everybody knows. It's Von Miller is on that side. It's Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman are on that side of the ball. It's the Chicago Bears with Brian Urlacher or the Ravens with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis.
Hell, when the Rams got there, it was Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller, another one that you brought up.
Who's that player on this year's Seahawks defense? They've got really good ones, don't get me wrong. This is not me trying to say that's not a good dude. Byron Murphy is awesome, and Nwosu's a really good defensive end. They've got some dudes at the back end.
Witherspoon's
your guy, Witherspoon, awesome. I love watching them play. They're just not the same household names as what you would typically expect. Nick Emanwari, he's their nickel safety guy that just moves all around the defense. He's the one that kind of makes everything work. He's a rookie this season from South Carolina, an absolute freak athlete, early second-round pick this year. He's unbelievable, but he's not a household name. He's a rookie. So that, to me, is maybe the biggest storyline that I'll be monitoring this year is just like how they've been able to build this defense and the fact that they are already the most dominant defense in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll become the biggest story nationally because when I think defense, I think it's either household names like you're talking about there, or it's for, like, this Seahawks defense, it's for the DVOA guys or the guys that cover the league.
Sure.
Like, typically, when we think of the big names, it's typically everybody just kind of circles the quarterback for the casual fan, or you get, like, a guy that's, I don't know, dating Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. I don't know if people are going to really hone in on the defense till they see it play. And then I think people will realize just how good that Seahawks defense was.
I mean, we've watched them all season, though.
I agree, but I think...
Do you think people don't realize how good they are?
I think they realize it's good. I don't know that they realize how great it is.
And I don't know
number one in the NFL.
I don't know if people are going to give them a lot of credit beating that Patriots offense.
I don't know. I mean, the Patriots are a good story for what they've done. I could see where people look at that and go, that's why they win the Super Bowl. I mean, you can make an argument that Rams game,
it might be
they got
why,
picked apart. They were not great. I mean, they won that game not because of the defense, but because of Sam Darnold.
It might be why they win the Super Bowl. I don't think people are acting as if they're the next big thing because it's the Patriots. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't think they're beating this juggernaut offense to where people are like, oh, my God, they shut them down.
Fair. But that might be why it's not a big story either.
It's a...
See, I was right at the beginning. It's because the biggest story is Patrick Mahomes not being there.
It's a very unique Super Bowl.
And Lamar or Joe Burrow. And Allen.
It's a unique Super Bowl.
All right, as a show, we're not going to watch.
I've already told you my score. I don't need to give it to you.
It does remind me a lot of like the Seahawks, Steelers, Cardinals, Steelers. It's more reminiscent of those than it is many of the more recent ones where you do have, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, those all-time great first ballot Hall of Fame quarterbacks, no doubt about it. Travis Kelce, typically at these events, you've got, the Eagles even had superstar level talent littered up and down their roster. They are household names all over there. Neither of these teams really have that. Who do you think is like the biggest household name on the two teams combined?
Stephon Diggs for the Patriots.
Probably.
That's the answer, right?
Yeah. And then honestly,
is Mike Vrabel like second?
I was going to say that, and
because he's who I originally kind of thought as like my number one answer.
It's either Vrabel or Drake May.
But Diggs was a star when he was with Buffalo and with
and he's dating Cardi B. Yeah. Right, Cardi B, that's who he's dating?
If you're going name recognition, is it Diggs 1, Vrabel 2, Drake May 3?
I think it'd be May 3.
Yeah. JSN probably 4?
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, really? I think so. I mean, he was a stud this year. Oh, I don't know about Darnold. I would put JSN ahead of him.
I don't know.
I think there's a significant teardrop.
I think I can make an argument for like 5 different players once you get past the 3 we just mentioned.
It has a chance to be a very good game. I'm very excited to watch it. It's just not the same kind of buzz.
Honestly, I think the next name on that is probably Robert Kraft for the Patriots.
He's probably higher than some of the names that we already mentioned. Just because he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, he's been there longest time.
Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll dive into the BK and Ferrario rewind. But right now, it is your opportunity to score a pair of tickets to the Sunset Hills Subaru Blues Alumni Experience at Mardi Gras next Saturday, February the 14th. It's in Soulard. The Blues Alumni Experience puts you in a heated tent. How about that? Might be a little chilly out there. Right on the parade route with premium drinks, great food, live music, and most importantly, meet and greets with the St. Louis Blues legends. Contest winners must be 21 and up. Find all the details and a bonus chance to win a free pass over at the 101 ESPN app or at 101ESPN.com, or you can text in right now at 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. The 101st texter with the correct answer to the following question will be going home today with a pair of tickets to the Blues Alumni Experience at Mardi Gras next Saturday. Earlier today, we mentioned a TikTok star that we just don't understand. It's just not for us. What was her name? If you have the correct answer and your texter number 101, you are going home with that pair of tickets to the Mardi Gras Experience. Coming up next, the path is clear for how Mizzou makes it to the NCAA Tournament this year. Are they capable of doing it, though? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
BK, football's biggest game is this weekend, which means my daily routine of waking up and looking at the Underdog app just gets amplified even more because you can get ready for all of the action with that big game over on Underdog right now in the state of Missouri. There's promos dropping all the time, so I open it up, and it's got the big reveal, BK. So I click it. I'm going with Stephon Diggs. The higher on his receiving yards is 44.5, but when I hit that big reveal, BK, it drops down to 30.
Love to see
I
it.
had that real quick. I got 3 more because, I can't do plays without like 5 of them. I got higher on Drake May rushing yards, higher on JSN touchdowns, and higher on Shaheed receiving yards.
Rashid Shaheed.
Yes.
That's the one that he's going with over there on the Underdog app. It's super easy to do, a little harder to say. You can do it all on the Underdog app. Download it today. Use the promo code BKO to score $75 in fantasy bonus entries when you play your first $5 on fantasy. That's promo code BKO. Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 or older. Present in Missouri. Terms to apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Blues fell to the Blue Jackets over the weekend. They are back in action tonight as they visit the Nashville Predators. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 6 o'clock with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 7 o'clock with Chris Carber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Dayton Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
Congratulations to SLU and Illinois. They both had a great win over the
Don't
weekend.
get emotional about it.
We shouldn't overlook the fact that Missouri also won.
Oh, no, we should absolutely overlook the fact that Missouri won.
I think we're giving them the proper treatment today.
Yeah. Did you,
They beat Mississippi State.
Did you see how they won?
I don't care.
Oh, okay.
I do not care
Cool.
how they
So
win.
just wins are important. That's it.
Absolutely. There are different goals for different teams.
Tell me your team shouldn't be in the tournament without telling me.
Yeah, well,
they got the win.
there are different goals for different teams based upon what their expectations are in any given season. SLU has hopes of getting to the Sweet 16. Illinois has hopes of getting to the Final Four. Missouri has hopes of getting to the tournament. That's the difference between the three. And Missouri beat Mississippi State over the weekend, which was necessary. You had to do that in order to give yourself a shot. The path to the NCAA tournament, Alex, I think is relatively clear for them. You have to win the following games. Now, I don't know if they can do it because these games are all on the road, unfortunately. You need to beat South Carolina. They're 87th in KenPom. You need to beat Mississippi State. They are 81st in KenPom. And you need to beat Oklahoma, who is 66th in KenPom. All of those teams, despite how bad Missouri's been this year, are worse than Missouri on the season. So you win those 3 games, that gets you to 8 wins in conference play. Then you need to win 2 more. You need to find wins, at least 2 of them, against Texas A&M, Texas, Vandy, Tennessee, and then you've got 2 games against Arkansas. You got to go at least 2-4 in those 6 games the rest of the way. If you can do that, I think you're in the tournament. Because that would put you at 10-8 in conference play, gets you to 20 wins on the season. You go into the SEC tournament. You probably have a chance to maybe win 1 game there as well, add another win to your resume. And I think Missouri at that point in time would get into the NCAA tournament. I'm not telling you it's a super high bar to clear. I'm not telling you it's likely, but that's probably the path. Do you think they can get there, Alex?
Do I think they can get there? Yeah, but it's going to be limping your way there, trying to just manage to pull out tight victories like they have over these last couple of games. I don't think there's any overwhelming victories where Mizzou is the clear-cut better team.
No.
I mean, Oklahoma, Mississippi State have both been pretty close. So I think that's what you're looking at the rest of the way. So, I mean, I'm giving it a 50-50 shot because you're talking about a couple of buzzer beaters in terms of them winning or losing games that they should or shouldn't win.
Yeah, I lean no that they won't do it. Now, I think it is like a 55-45 when I say no, because they are always in every game, but I watch them and go, you don't look like a tournament team. You don't do anything at a high level. You're average at just about everything. And you've been close, and as Alex said, some of these games that should have been wins, and I don't know if I'd call them easy wins, but games that you should at least be able to win and not feel uncomfortable or uneasy. And I didn't get that sense against Mississippi State. You really didn't get that sense against Oklahoma since they needed 2 buzzer beaters to pull it off. I think they're a team that's going to slip up here at some point and lose to somebody that they shouldn't. And when that's the case, then you've got to make up, instead of, 2-4 in those 6 kind of swing games. Yeah. Then you got to go 3-3 or 4-2 if you slip up twice. And I just don't think they're capable of that. I don't think this is a tournament team this year for Missouri.
It's just not a team I can trust on the road. I mentioned that. You've got to win 3 of those road games. They lost at Notre Dame, who's worse than some of the teams that we just mentioned. They lost at Ole Miss. They lost at LSU. They lost and got beat really bad at Alabama, who has not been the team that we expected them to be this season, by the way. Their 1 road victory on the season was at Kentucky. That was a really close one, a good win for Mizzou, but you've got to be able to do that multiple times over. You can't slip up in any of those games that I just mentioned. I have no faith that they can do that. 3 of their next 5 games are on the road. They probably need to win 2 of those 3. Do I really think they're going to do that? No. No, man. Or they've got to pull off some significant upsets at home. Like, they've got to beat Texas. They've got to beat Vanderbilt. They've got to beat Tennessee. And then they have to finish out the season with a win against Arkansas. So you either go the hard route, which is winning at home against better teams, or you go the quote-unquote easy route, which is beating the bad teams that are on the road. Neither of which looks particularly likely. I don't think this team's making the tournament this year. It's a pretty clear path on how you get there. I just don't think Missouri is capable of it. I don't think this is a team that has enough to get the job done.
And the other thing for me, do they not feel like they need a signature win? Another one on top of the Florida one?
I don't think so.
I think they do. They don't have many that they can put their hat on right now.
You've got wins against Florida, Kentucky, Auburn, all three of which are top 25 right now in KenPom. I think they're fine.
I don't know. Because their non-con schedule was so lackluster, I think they need another one as well. I think they need another big win to add to that resume.
Let's see where Missouri's at in the net right now. They're 70th in the net.
That's like their free throw shooting percentage up top.
It's a lot lower, but yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Quad one on the season. They are 3-4 in quad one. So they've got enough wins. They've got enough wins against quad one teams. To put that in context, like Louisville, 3-5. They're a top 25 team right now in the net. St. John's is 2-4 in quad one games. Indiana has 2 quad one wins. Yeah, they'd be fine.
I didn't realize they'd picked up 3 quad one wins.
Yeah, their quad one ranking would be good enough. I do want to talk about a team that has, more of a shot. Dude, Keaton Wagler is so good.
You want a jersey?
Your freshman guard, he is special. He's now averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists on the season.
Jesus.
I'm going to give you the list of freshmen, Alex, in the last 30 years that have done that. Because that's the current company that he's keeping.
Okay.
Cam Boozer, freshman at Duke. He's doing that this season. He's averaging 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists.
This guy he's like the Tasmanian devil when he's playing.
He's following up another Duke player who did this last year, Cooper Flagg, who went 19, 7, and 4 per game.
Number 1 overall pick.
Cole Anthony did this at North Carolina in 2020. R.J. Barrett did it at Duke in 2019 when he averaged 23, 7, and 4.
Jeez.
Markelle Fultz did this at Washington, eventually went on to become the number 1 overall pick. Ben Simmons, future number 1 overall pick. D'Angelo Russell, future first-round pick. End of list in the last 35 years for players to average at least 18, 5, and 4. The thing that impresses me the most about Wagler, dude, he's been better against conference opponents than he was in the non-con. That's not what you see from freshmen. They get worse as the season progresses, or at least hit a roadblock midway in the season. He seems to be getting better and better and better as the competition increases. I am so incredibly impressed. He's very clearly a lottery pick. Enjoy watching him, Illinois fans, because this guy's gone at the end of the season. But
he's not wrong.
He is a legit top 15 and maybe top 5 pick in this upcoming NBA draft. If it was a bad draft this year, he'd be a top 5 pick, probably lock. It's a really good draft, though, so he might go a little further down.
Yeah, and he's not even all that big yet either. Like, imagine what he's going to look like when he starts to really put on some size. He's listed 6'6", 180. I think he was 6'6" and 165, if I remember correctly, when he came on campus as a freshman. So he's been able to add on some muscle. But you're right. Typically, these kind of guys hit that freshman wall, as coaches have called it to me. And that's at any level across college basketball. And you saw that last year with Yakachonis, Riley. Those guys really struggled in the home stretch. That's why Illinois just flamed out last year. And those guys were first-round picks. Wagler, man, he's different, and he can hit about any shot from anywhere.
So I've seen this comparison elsewhere, and I think it's probably the best one that I've seen for him. It reminds me a lot of watching Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton at the NBA level just does everything. He's just really good at everything. If you were saying, like, what's his number one attribute, it's that he's so incredibly well-rounded. He can distribute. He can shoot. He can drive. He's got just an all-around game. There are very few holes that you can poke in it. And that's what stands out to me about Wagler as well. And you look back to what Halliburton was as a freshman, man, the numbers are really, really similar. He was a slightly better Halliburton finisher around the rim. He didn't do it as often, though. He was the guy that shot more from outside than he did near the bucket, whereas Wagler is a guy that is consistently getting to the interior and finishing. That's, to me, the comparison that I would make if you were making one for what can this look like at the next level. I don't know if he has the same superstar upside because it's hard to ever become what Halliburton is. That was not the expectation when Halliburton was selected. But that's what it can look like at the next level, where you can just do a little bit of everything. And you've got height, you've got length, but you're not like the biggest guy in the world. That's Halliburton.
And that's super lengthy, but got just enough. I think
6'5" as a point guard, that'll work.
And I think he's I think Halliburton, at least from what I remember early on, I think Halliburton's a better passer than Wagler is at this point, but I think Wagler's a better perimeter shooter than Halliburton was at this point. But I do like the comparison because I could see that because you're right. I don't know if there's one thing that Wagler will ever take off as being, this is clearly his number one attribute. I think he's just going to be a really good guy that when he gets to the league, averages like 25 points a night.
Yeah, he's a really fun player, and he came out of nowhere. He was the guy that was like 250th in his class.
I saw Rockio tweet this out, that SLU is one of the first schools to offer him. Imagine him with SLU.
Oh. Would have been fun. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, we'll hit the rewind.
Tanner Hendrickson here, and Super Bowl 60 is 6 days away, and DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 60. Look, it's not too early to start building out those parlays. I've told you about it. I like JSN for 100-plus receiving yards and an anytime touchdown score. Also love the Seahawks on the spread at -4.5, and I'm leaning towards taking Drake May on the under his passing prop as well. They've also got a bunch of other great things over there at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. They've got Super Bowl MVP odds for you. They've got novelty props as well, like one of these that I really like. Total players to have a pass attempt over 2.5. I think I'm going to take that. We always get one trick play in the Super Bowl, so I'm thinking of doing that, and they've got a bunch of fun ones like that as well. And they've also got your back during the Super Bowl with early exit protection. So if you have a player that goes down in the first half and you're eligible NFL prop bet, you still get paid out in cash immediately once your bet settles. No bonus bets, no waiting. So download that DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TANNER. That's code TANNER to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms, responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it's 1:56 your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. If you missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, or the free 101ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That 101ESPN app is free to download. It is super easy to use, and it is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Just saw this story posted from the Seattle Times. The Mariners have been widely linked to St. Louis utility player Brendan Donovan, and the Mariners have been known to have had trade talks with the Cardinals about him each of the past two offseason. Donovan appears to be the most likely target for the Mariners, and there's industry-wide belief that the Cardinals are motivated to move him. The other infielders that the Mariners have coveted in the past include the Mets' Brett Beatty and the Cubs' Nico Horner. They are outside possibilities, though neither the Mets nor the Cubs appear eager to trade them. That comes from Aaron Jude, who is a Mariners insider for the Seattle Times. I'll reach out to him, see if we can maybe get him on the show at some point in the next few days. Alex, this is where we began today as well. As of today, scale of 1 to 10, how likely do you think it is that Brendan Donovan is traded prior to spring training?
If you would have asked me that before you played me the Jerry DiPoto audio, which you should go back and listen to, I would have said like 5 out of 10. Now I'm going to say like 8 out of 10. I think he's moved before position players report to spring training.
I'm at a 7.
I'm at a 6. I'm a little bit.
Well, look at us, 8-7-6.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical, but I think they probably try and get it done.
I think they're going to get this thing done. I still think that the Mariners were always and remain the most likely landing spot for Brendan Donovan.
What number do you think they'll give Laz Montez? Because I'm going to go buy a jersey the moment that they trade for him.
SLU had a great win over the weekend. Illinois also had a good win. Missouri keeping its opportunity to make the NCAA tournament alive as well. We talked about Jordan Bennington, had a slightly differing opinion on him. Also talked a little bit today about the future for Robert Thomas in a Blues uniform. Is that something that you would like to see get done at this year's deadline, or do you wait until you see Robert Thomas play with a potential top 3 selection? How does that play into his future here in St. Louis? You can find our full thoughts on that over on the podcast page after the show today. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 11 a.m. Jeremy Rutherford will join us tomorrow, hopefully one of the Mariners insiders as well. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.